You. Casey, how's it going?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. There we go.
All right.
Chair. That Van Gogh exhibit looks pretty sweet.
Yeah, wasn't that neat?
Yeah.
Oh, my kids got a kick out of it.
I bet.
Sorry, I'm trying to organize here. I got 4 damn laptops on the table. All for different companies, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody
Sounds
wants
about
their
right.
data secure.
Mhm.
Yes, really?
Yeah, they're the ones getting hacked. So, we got Bob joining. You want to drive us through the frame today, or you still want to hold on that?
I don't know. You guys are marketing. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anything that we say in here is really going to be like.
No, I'm just afraid of people taking photos and pictures of frame. It's so simple, right? I mean, we can do it. I know a lot of people you've seen on there, probably 40 replies. People want pictures. Everybody wants to see it now. Some people want the drawings to it.
Of course. Yep.
It's the way it always is. But I think I replied on there that it'll be sold exclusively through MakerMade. And I haven't gotten nobody said anything against that. So we'll see.
Cool.
We'll see.
We got to get that extrusion pricing back.
Here's the new motor brackets.
Oh, nice.
So it's the same. I mean, it's printed, right? But the way the drawing is this right here, it bends flat like this. And then this one just bends straight. So it's actually a flat plate. And you laser cut, cut, and then you laser cut this piece. And then it's just bent. It's just still plate steel. That's all it is.
So, I don't think that should be a problem.
I mean, it's really, I designed it to be really simple to manufacture.
Great.
But my only concern is you still have to keep maintaining those old brackets for a while until you discontinue the old model, right? That's going to cause a lot of obsolescence in your inventory.
Well, does that bracket though fit on a 2x4 as well?
No, it's designed to fit on it's the side. Yeah.
So we'd have to
2x4 is thicker. 2x4 is thicker than a 40-20 or 60-20, just any 20 series.
Right.
Extrusion.
Right. So we'll have to maintain both based on what the user picks,
for a while, right? I've never seen anybody destroy one of those brackets. I've seen them destroy the ring, but I've never seen anybody destroy a bracket. So how often do you just sell those? Probably never. My guess is.
Yeah, they're not often. Yeah, people don't. Usually when somebody buys the brackets, it's because they're looking to upgrade. Reason. So anyway, hey everybody. All right. How's it going? Thanks everybody for joining. We got Bob on here. I see iPhone, which I'm assuming is Mike, Don, and Matt. Hey y'all. Any topics to kick off? Any troubleshooting or issues anyone's having that we want to start the conversation on?
I had one real quick question. I just ordered mine. It just came in the mail the other day. I'm looking at possibly putting the small frame together.
Okay.
You can use the regular chains with that, or do you need to cut the chains to make them smaller? Because I'm gonna make the small frame now, but I'm gonna make it bigger when I can start using it and create some stuff that creates more room in my garage. So
yeah,
kind of a.
Yeah, no, you can use the chains. You just pull the slack through the sled side. That's the best way to handle it. And then you can just zip tie it back around on itself. I'll need to get and take a look. I don't actually know what the latest assembly guide for the mini frame says about that. about slack management. So I don't want to speak out of turn there, but
Yeah,
it's all
I kind of skimmed it. It didn't really say. It just says that one of the optional tools is a chain breaker. So it was like, okay, I would rather not break it if I didn't have to. So
no, you don't need to. So yeah, just hang the nail and the spring on the top beam the way it states, and then pull slack through the sled brackets that you mount the cotter pin in. And then you can just run that slack back up the chain and just kind of zip tie it, right? And it's fine. Are you running, let me ask this too, though. Are you planning to run 4x4 setup or just like a 2x4 sheet setup?
well, technically, if all goes according to plan, I like to make it out of like metal. Because I think what I would like to do is be able to put it on a hoist that I can move it up into the rafters, bring it back down as one big, just up and down.
Sure. I just mean from a standpoint of like your actual usable workspace, milling space. Are you wanting to use like 4x4 sheets or like 2x4 sheets, 2x4 foot?
Oh, okay. Well, like I said, eventually I want to get to a full 4x8.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking 4x4 is probably going to be better.
Yeah. So one thing I'll just tell you is for that mini frame, the way it's set up right now, a landscape orientation 2x4 foot sheet is going to be the best setup from a chain slack management standpoint. It's the most set and forget, right? So what I would recommend, just from my experience, in order to mitigate any need for idlers or anything like that, like just using a 2x4 foot sheet landscape centered pretty much right in the middle of your wasteboard area is going to be the most set and forget option. And then you can just pull that slack through the carriage brackets, like I was saying, and then you'll be fine. That'll give you a great, accessible size sheet that you can go pick up at Lowe's or Home Depot, right? Those 2x4 foot sheets, you can do a lot with it. Get your feet wet a little bit with this machine, and then take a look at, probably upgrading to like a 15-foot chain and maybe a 12-foot top beam, and really maximizing that 4x8 foot space. That would be my recommendation anyway.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. And welcome to the community. Excited to have you here. See what you make. You got a nice looking shop there.
I can't take of it. This is work. So.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Right on. All right. I'll leave you to it. Hey, Bob, how's it going there? How's your setup looking?
Well, it's not doing too bad, but I posted on the group the other day that I had some measurement issues, and I don't know. I think it could be one of two different things. I've heard Casey talk about work with millimeters and not inches. And, I drew everything and worked with everything in Vectric, and then I exported it in inches, and I exported it as inches, and then brought it into Makerverse as millimeters. So I'm wondering if there's some sort of conversion going on there, that and coupled with maybe some calibration issues and thickness of product that I'm using. Like it's 1.5 inches, and I'm wondering if the chains are just slightly off, therefore all the geometry might be a little.
Yeah. So first thing I'll say there is, if you've got 1.5 inches thick material, then you should be calibrating with that material pre-mounted to your work surface, right? Because that will change the geometry. You're right. It'll also change your ring height for sure. You need to be cognizant of that ring height and make sure that when you're looking at those chains from the profile of your machine, that they are exactly parallel to that 15 degrees on that wasteboard. Sometimes people get chains that are offset like this, right? And that's where you get a lot of issues with bit deflection or with chain skip or various other problems like that. So
if thickness is a factor, Casey, hint, your next stand that you make, maybe you should have an adjustable depth, on your 15-degree angle. I don't know if you're thinking about that already or not, but
already got it covered.
Okay. Good. All right.
I don't know, Patrick, did you want to show everybody a little sneak peek off the frame, or do
Go
we
for
want
it. If you, it's up to you, man. This is your product. I'm all in support of it. I think be a fun little teaser here. All I'll say is if y'all just need to commit. This is closed door activity right now, and we're
Right.
just not gonna
Well,
let the cat out of the bag until Casey's fully ready.
Casey offered to come down to Springfield, Missouri and help me install one of those. So I'm gonna hope you do it.
Yeah, I seen that. Yeah, way too cool, buddy. Let me see. You want to give me sharing rights there?
Yeah. Sure. One sec.
We know when
All right. Good to go. Yep.
How do I share content? Screen. All right, can everybody see my screen here?
See your screen.
I'm trying to get it to flip around to my video, but it's just sharing my screen, not my camera.
It's sharing your computer screen. So you
That's
were
what-
actually, Casey, if you stop sharing, if you just flip your camera around like you had it there, that was perfect, I think. There you go. All right, we're looking at your tabletop now.
Can all see it?
What's up, Drew? I see you, Drew, in the background.
All right, I'm going to spotlight you.
Yep, that's what I want right there, Casey.
Can everybody see that? I can't get it all in there,
Yep.
but
Yeah.
So basically the way it's designed is it has, I'll show the bottom first. I have a little pull cord. So remember that you're going to have a full sheet of plywood. This is a 4x4 mini. You're going to have a full sheet of plywood down there. It'll have a rope that comes up and down with a T-handle. But you could just pull that and it flips the legs up and it folds flat against the wall. And when you want to go ahead and pull it out, you grab the top of the frame, pull the rope, and it'll lower the piece back down here where it sits up against the wall the way it is. Any thoughts on that? What do you guys think?
I want it.
So here's the piece that I love. So it's already adjusted. Can you guys see the top up here?
Mm-hmm.
So it's already set up to where we'll have some bolt holes here. So if you get 2 of these frames, it'll make the XL size. So you get the mini or 2 of them makes the XL. They just bolt together and they're plug and play. And these pieces up here, these are actually quick release hinges. They're spring loaded right here. So you would just grab this, pull it out, slide it over a little bit, and the whole thing comes down off the wall. And then you can sit it on the floor, flip it over, put new waste board on it, whatever you want to do to screw it through the back here to put the waste board on. But that whole thing is set up. So, I mean, this right here, I can lift the whole thing with one hand. So 2 of them, it might take 2 people to move around just because it's so long, but it's super, super lightweight and very strong. Very strong.
Price point.
The additional length that I have right here, 18 inches is actually only up to about here. So you could actually move the top beam all the way to the top with the XL frame and get the 12-foot top beam, and you'd have the XL with the 12-foot top beam instead of a 10-foot beam with the short chains. So these side pieces right here are already designed if you want to move into a 10-foot top beam with the regular standard chains, or you buy 2 frames, you put them together, you get the XL frame and you put in the 12-foot top beam. Then you got solid square frame from front to back. And the XL frame will do exactly what this one does. It'll fold flat against the wall. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to take your machine off. Everything sits nice and easy.
Awesome.
So I'm curious, I love that idea, but the question is, have you seen anybody that's done it with the rotation in the other direction? So in other words, that back leg will flip up, but instead of folding flat against the wall, it lifts up, the front edge lifts up and hangs, directly from the rafters.
Sure, you can, but you're going to have something that supports it against the wall to give you the 15-degree angle you require.
Right. Well, I would say exactly the same way as what is here. When the leg flips up, it locks in place, but then, so when you do flip it up to the ceiling, that leg is still compacted against the back of it. And then when it comes back down, it still props up against the wall like that.
Yeah, so if you have a small, like a little come-along winch, the little cable come-along winch, you could easily take an eye like this and put it right down here at the bottom, hang your come-along winch up there with a little hook, or let's say even a carabiner. You can put that in there, and you can go over and just winch it up, and it'll suck it up to the ceiling.
Right.
And then when you want to work on it, you could just let it down. Whenever it gets down here, just take the carabiner off so you got your full work surface. You could do either or.
Right. Yeah. See, and that's what I was thinking. And I just want to know if there's any gotchas to that. Like, obviously, when you lift it up, if you leave the sled sitting on there, you've got to make sure you don't go past too far, and then it starts sliding back the other way to the top.
Yeah.
Well, you'd have to make sure that the top of the frame where you mount it up towards the ceiling, remember that's the pivot point, the top of the frame. So
right.
You'll have to decide how far up into the ceiling you want it to tuck. And remember, if you don't want to remove your sled every time you do it, then you'd have to measure your sled and make sure you give it that additional height. So
yeah,
probably about 14 inches, 12 to 14 inches, I would say. The top of that would have to be lowered from the ceiling. So when you do jack it up flat, there's room for the M2 to still sit on there without it getting crushed in the ceiling.
Right. Well, I have in my garage, I've got 2x6 joists. So, that gives me at least 6 to 5.5 inches of play. So if I don't lock it all the way up, I can, keep the one end down a little bit and, give myself the room for the router to slide in between the joists, essentially.
Yep. Yeah, this will actually pivot either way. It's just most people are going to just want to pivot it from the wall. But I mean, it's up to you. Some people, we have seen a couple of folks that wanted to stack it up into the ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that hard. You'd have to supply your own components, but it would do it.
Don, what is it you're trying to accomplish?
I have more flexibility in my shop, because I've got a table saw, I've got a band saw that moves around. Everything's on wheels. So the deal is that hopefully I can make it so that everything's modular. So when I'm not using the CNC, I could be using, I can move the router table or the router table or any of the other gear, like roll it out underneath and use that whole space available essentially.
Well, I mean, we're only talking about a few inches there of
right
off space at that point.
Yeah. I mean, are you really going to be using those couple of inches that you're losing right now when you put it completely against the wall?
Well, the only reason I say yes is because there's windows on two sides of my garage. So there's one side's the house side where, that's wife land. The other two sides, the back and the one side have a window, and then the front is obviously the garage doors. So yeah, it's definitely an attempt at leaving the windows open if I can.
Got it. That makes sense. Okay. I was also thinking like it would be, just continuing that thought process of like, how do we ensure that these products continuously take up as little functional space as possible? Like something like this, Casey, like I would love to see an advertisement for this when we're ready to rock and roll, where we sell it with the optional or with even a file for a bike rack mount, right? And like when you're not using your CNC, there's a bike rack above it, and you can just roll your bikes up and lean it against there, and now it's usable storage space, right? Like you still got your kids' baseball bats or stuff hanging right by it. Like that's the type of lifestyle that people need access to.
Yeah, so when this thing is fully folded up against the wall, it sticks out 4 inches.
Wow.
A 4x4 CNC cutting space that takes up 4 inches of usable depth in your garage.
Yeah, freaking mind blowing, isn't it?
Yeah.
You, Casey.
What was that?
Way too much.
You're breaking up. I can't hear you.
Oh,
Hear that?
Dustin. There we go.
Yeah, I saw this as soon as you said that. Hey, Don, check out the chat.
Yeah,
There's a link to a guy.
I'm bringing it up right now.
It's only like 40 seconds long.
Yeah. So, what other questions do we have about this frame right now? Thoughts, questions?
Oh yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
The only thing that you would have to do is you see the wood beam I put on the wall. And the reason why that wood is there is simply because nobody's wall is perfectly flat. I put a level against mine and my sheetrock is wavy. There's just absolutely nothing you can do about that. So I figured it would be best to screw just a 1x6 put that up on there, and then everything screwed to that. That way I knew I was hitting my studs in the wall, you know, the whole 9 yards.
Mm-hmm.
But that's it. A couple of
Yeah.
little blocks and the frame is ready to just hang.
How much effort is it to, or how adjustable is that foot at the bottom so you can get your 15 degrees?
So it will pivot down the way it is right here. But then I have these adjusters. I don't know. Let me find my camera here. Oh, there it is. So I have these adjusters right here, and I have feet that will screw into those, and you'll be able to adjust the feet, unscrew them, screw them in. So they're like furniture level. So you will be able to just deploy that arm, unscrew those, check your distance, and then tighten the bolts, and that's it. They'll fold up with the arm every time.
Okay.
So
The reason
you
why I
set it and
asked,
it's kind of a set it and forget it kind of thing, right?
yeah, the reason why I ask is my wall has studs. It doesn't have any drywall or anything like that. So I would need to put some sort of, I'm guessing some sort of board down there.
Yeah,
Which
put
might
another
change.
1x6 down there, just like you did, like you would the top.
Yeah,
That's all.
I was just thinking that might change the distance for that foot that you have already set up. So I might need to lower it down a little bit to keep that 15-degree angle.
Yeah, the feet will have 4 inches of adjustability, more than
That's great.
mine. Without the feet right here, I'm right at 16.8 on one side and 16.5 on the other. And that's no adjustable feet on it. That's just sitting up against my wall. So with that, I'll probably just adjust the frame down there a little bit and then put these ends on there and give myself some adjustment room. And that's what we'll run with production on.
Are these the, is this the material that you're looking at for final production then?
You'd have to ask Patrick on that. That's
okay.
Patrick is working on the supply chain. MakerMade is going to do, these will be sold exclusively through MakerMade. So Patrick and the MakerMade team will handle all supply chain logistics, purchases and shipping.
The question is really just like, and I think we'll probably stick with silver would be my guess, but it's more about just like, is there a anodized color that we want to go with? But I think probably silver for
That's
this.
going to add a lot of money. How much do you think it's an add to get those anodized or the powder coated?
So
It's
Drew,
pretty pricey. Hey man, I need to check it. Sorry guys, I haven't been around for a while. I've been just.
I was just thinking about you this morning. I was like, man, I'm hosting this week's call. I was like, I haven't seen Drew in a minute.
I know it's been kind of crazy. Plus, now I'm after years of begging because we play hockey all the time. The owner of the rink finally let me drive the Zamboni. So I
Yes.
or what do you call it? 3 hours a week as a Zamboni driver.
So what you're
It's been
telling
so
me
much
is they
fun.
probably need a new Zamboni now because you crashed it into a wall or something.
Actually, I did, but I actually bent the control panel in half. But that's a long story. I fixed it. Anyway, yeah.
Unlike most, you can laser him a new one.
Yeah. Oh my God. No, it's funny. They actually have a 4-week school in Colorado. They send people to learn how to use the Zamboni. I didn't think it was complicated. It's actually quite interesting.
That's
but-
longer than learning to drive a semi. I think.
I know it's crazy, but yeah. So, but you think I think the silver looks good.
The silver does look good. I just think it looks good. But yeah, anodization doesn't require anodizing. Anodizing doesn't require any additional costs, like pennies of additional costs.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
And MakerMade
How
Blue.
much do you think?
MakerMade Blue. That's the other option.
That would look. I think MakerMade Blue would be awesome. I think because like you saw how I blued all my M2s.
Yep.
And so I think if you did a MakerMade Blue, that would look so badass.
That would look pretty sweet. Maybe we could do two.
But they have to powder coat it. Or can they anodize it that color?
Anodized.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
it's anodized. They keep remember these things are highly dimensional. So anodizing doesn't add to the thickness of the surface dimensions. If you powder coat them, oh yeah, it'll add definitely increase the thickness of the material. So 80 or 40-20 or 80-20 is no longer 80-20. It's like,
well, especially the way I
80.2.
powder coat. My powder coat, I suck at powder coating. I bought a powder coating setup, and it's hard to get it. It's just nice and even. But yeah, that's cool. How much do y'all think that's gonna cost retail?
It's hard to say right now. I'm still struggling with the price point because the big kicker is just shipping expense. It's just the total size. It's going to be light. It's really light. It's just the dimensions of it. So it may get.
And you're not gonna be able to do it where it breaks down, where they can just it breaks down and packages up, and they just have like a couple bolts to put in to put the size.
Right. Well, that's what it'll be. That's what it'll be, but
Right.
it'll still be pretty lengthy pieces of extrusion, right? So we're going to have to work with like Rui's camera was a pretty obvious one. He's like, it's this big. So it's like, okay, I know what my costs will be on shipping there. So it's pretty easy to estimate. We definitely have our targets on this thing right now.
But what length are you looking at? What length is it going to be right now, you think, packaged?
Do you know, Casey, on that? What's the longest length you have on this?
Well, it can't be over 6 foot.
Yeah.
6 foot is
It technically can. It can actually. And so that because we actually designed a product for somebody that was really long, and we had to ship it. And part of the product constraints were it was a solar gazebo system that we had designed, and we had to have it where it packet could be shipped via UPS, FedEx, or DHL. And I was able to do over 6 foot because I had my max lengths were something like that, and it wasn't that bad.
I mean, you can do over 6 feet, but that's when the shipping, the price goes up.
Yeah, it goes up.
And that's just on my end. I know that.
Well, DHL. So I looked at UPS and DHL weren't that bad. So it's as long as they kept the inner dimension. So we designed it where when it broke down, I think I forget now. It's been 2 years, but because that was one of the big constraints with the design of the product is making sure they could ship the thing and shipping costs would not be extraordinary, expensive or super expensive, extravagant, should I say? And so, I was able to I worked with UPS and FedEx and DHL. Was able to figure out a way to get it down. They could only do it ground, obviously, but there was a way to do it. It wasn't bad. It was like an extra $10 for the entire thing. Because
we got to figure all this out, but I'm personally targeting sub $500. We'll see again. We'll see what it comes out to, but so just real quick, guys, on all of this, and I'm sure there are other thoughts around this frame design, but just larger context, especially for this group. You all are like the core makers, right? M2 next year, my vision for it is for it to really start leaning into a community-driven product where this, right now we've already got, Casey, we're partnering with Casey on this frame design, right? We've partnered with Rui on the camera. We've partnered with Larry, who designed the do board, right? This is how we want this product to continue to iterate into the future, is that really ingenious ideas come out of this community all the time. And those are what get baked into the product for future iterations, 2.5, 2.6, and that the community member who comes up with those specific iterations is sharing in the financial gains that iteration creates for the business, right? And so that ultimately this is self-sustained and grows incrementally through the input of the community. That's where we're moving. Casey is one of the test cases for this. But I'm really excited to see what we can do to improve dust collection, to reduce weight, to improve costing, so we can get this thing back down potentially under $1,000 in the future. I don't know, but I know this community will come up with really novel ideas. And I'm really excited to make that kind of the priority for this product next year.
Yeah, and it's a perfect strategy, because the hard thing, it's a great strategy for companies if you need core evangelists that are going to be able to push your product, stuff like that. When for companies that don't have the huge multi-million-dollar marketing budget, the problem is that you usually have to have specific products or engagement around that, and y'all are prime for this. It's the perfect marketing strategy for y'all. It's the best marketing strategy for y'all, because it saves you huge cost in marketing, but it also keeps a core engaged evangelist base, while allowing for it's a beautiful marketing strategy based on y'all's product and y'all's market. So
I appreciate that. Yeah. So and if it starts gaining traction, right, people, if the community is really truly making earning off of this, and we're seeing the value, who in the market is going to be able to keep up with an entire community of innovators, right? I don't care how big your mechanical engineering team is. You've got a passionate community who's the ones designing the next iterations of this. No one's keeping up.
Well, that's also what made the Raspberry Pi and the Arduino and projects like that successful, because they were community driven. And for open source communities and projects like that, you have to be community driven. So your target customers are makers and and creators. So, and they like to tinker and create the product. So you have to be open source in some which ways. There's some things that obviously but it's got to be a community driven product. So I think it's your best and your core way of marketing by far, and it's a core way of running a company. I think
that's a good point from a business perspective. But I think for everybody out there, right, the average guys, the other individuals that are on this call with us, my thing that I like about this is, yeah, sure, I'll make money on this, but the M2 is becoming a product that is for makers, but made and designed by makers, right?
Name right
so
there.
if we don't like something, we can change it. If you go out and you buy something from Open Builds and something doesn't work, you can send in an email and say, hey, or you go on their Facebook page and you put in, I don't like this, and they always go, well, we'll look at that when we do upgrades next year. We'll talk about that and see if there's something we can come up with. This, hey, if you can fix it yourself, come up with a solution, show it to everybody, and if it's a viable solution, then it could be implemented into the original product.
Exactly.
I love that idea. I just, a maker tool made and designed by makers. There is nothing better. Made by makers, right?
MakerMade, baby.
Hey, look, it's a MakerMade blue Zamboni.
Yeah, there you go. Totally printed Zamboni. I'd like to see that.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. I want to, if they have a golf course here, Peppa golf course here, I want to use some Mazda to make some little cutouts for things. It'd be fun. But
yeah,
I want to say hi, guys. So I'm running around, run some errands stuff. So I'll talk to y'all later. But I definitely wanted to jump on the call. It's been a while.
Yeah,
I love it, Patrick. You're doing an amazing job, dude. It's an amazing job.
Really appreciate that. Excited for next year. We've got a lot of fun coming.
Yep. I'll see y'all next week. I'll jump on next week.
Sweet. Thanks, dude.
Cool.
Later. There was something else I wanted to say about that. I don't know what it was specifically, but yeah, that's the strategy. So if you all have ideas, one of the things that I was going to say actually was that, we saw one of the other products in the corner, Casey's dust collection, right? Like that to me is a perfect example. So it's the thing about that to me is that it is solving what is really a deficiency with the original design, right? Especially the 2020 model, and to a lesser degree, but still somewhat, the current version has some dust collecting deficiencies. That is a perfect case where, we're not going to sell Casey's unit as a standalone item in the store because it represents, again, a deficiency of the prime product. That then becomes the perfect place to look for who in the community comes up with a fix for that is robust, that we can bake into the primary product. And then that becomes part of that ownership of that existing community member, right? So yeah, it's going to be so much fun. Any other questions on the frame that Casey's got there? Any other thoughts before we move on? I've got another topic I want to get thoughts on.
I've got one thing real quick that Casey's frame made me think of this, but have you guys ever tinkered with or put some thought into putting a motor on the bottom left and right? So that way, not only can you do 15 degree, but come out flat. That way the weight is going down instead of, okay. I see heads nodding. All right.
I will give you a little, I cannot talk a lot about it because it's not mine to talk about, but I will say that you run into some very big challenges where if you're not absolutely flawless in your motion between those motors, it will destroy itself.
Well, mine destroyed itself like week one, so I get that.
Yeah, you'll get a scenario where you don't bend your ring so much as you will draw and quarter your entire setup. So
okay.
So I did try that, and I had pulleys, I had springs set up. I had the last thing that I did not do was physically hire somebody to write software with encoders in it. So every motor moved exactly. And the thing is, they don't all move the same, because whenever you're looking at an offset at an angle, 45-degree angle off of a 4x8 isn't the same as a 45-degree angle on a 4x4. So that distance is different. So you'd have to have different software for a mini, different software for the XL, different software for the XXL with the 12-foot top beam. And I tell you, I even at one time I had pneumatic cylinders for like your car trunk and stuff where they're spring loaded, but they're pneumatic and they pull in. I had those as tensioners down at the bottom of my 4x8. And no matter what I did, I could not get past 10 millimeters of accuracy. It was just, you're not going to do it.
Yeah. And think about it from the standpoint of to that point, accuracy, right? So today, if you're essentially accuracy is the delta between what the frame, what the system thinks its chain lengths are right now, ultimately, versus what they are really. And that's the variance that you get. So if you're talking about a system that thinks it's more or less 2 millimeters or 5 millimeters away from where it truly is, when the 2 points are coming together like that, moving like this, that's not a big deal, right? That just means it's going to be higher or lower. But when these two think that they're in different locations like this and they're pulling away from each other because they're in the wrong location, that's where catastrophe occurs. So it is an interesting concept. I do think though that the floating gantry option that we've seen in the market or in the owners group recently, some variation of that to create true like engraving capabilities or more standard gantry CNC option is a very interesting route.
Yeah, and this metal frame will enable that.
Exactly.
That's what I'm most excited about for this metal frame is I'm looking at those T-slots on the side going, now I can mount something there that's accurate along with the frame.
Yep. Well, I've got, it's not ready yet. It'll be sometime next year in Q1 that I'm going to be really, really excited to share something with y'all. It's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to get the feedback from this group. Casey's nodding. Okay, so next up, we've got launching early January. We've got Makerverse 2.0. I just saw a demo of it. It's looking great. It's built from the ground up. Big changes coming to everything as a result. One of which is that everybody's going to start getting 15-foot chains standard in the box. I don't know if I've mentioned that. But we have right here, we're testing 4-foot chain lengths so that you can just attach these to your existing 11-foot chains, because to use Makerverse 2.0, you're going to need, at least at the beginning, 15-foot chains. But I think the improvements are going to be huge. All the Z-axis issues that we've got right now, the opportunity for the sled to run away up top and then pull itself apart right? Those types of challenges that people run into is a lot of bugginess that comes from the source code. And again, this is brand new software from the ground up. So it's really exciting. And then the 15-foot chains, you're going to have 3 standard frame setups, like mini, standard, and XL, like we do today. But then the chains will literally have markings on them that say, this is the point where you hang from your top sprocket, right? And over here's the point where you mount your cotter pin. And by just following the color codes, you will hang your sled, and for all intents and purposes, be plus or minus 5 millimeters in calibration without even edge calibrating at that point. I've been able to get all 3 systems down to a sub 2 millimeter on a first pass. We're currently going through alpha testing to see if that can be repeated for others, and then beta testing. But I will be coming to y'all in the coming weeks and saying who wants to kick the tires and beta test this new version before we release broadly. I see a hand, I see a finger up there from Bob. Yep, Dustin, great. Yeah, it's going to be fun. So I would donate chains, right? So if you want to get a new set of 15-foot chains, I would donate those to you for the cause and as a thank you. So yeah, just a heads up there. One question I did have for the group though was for existing users, right? For the chance to upgrade to 2.0, you would need to change your frame dimensions slightly, right? It would just involve raising your top beam essentially. That's it. And then having 15-foot chains, which most people who aren't beta testing for us would need to purchase, right? So 2 questions. One is, do you think people would just want to buy 15-foot chains and then toss their other ones? Or do you think they would want to just get the 4-foot extensions? And then 2, how popular do you think that is going to be when we say you have to have 15-foot chains to go to 2.0? If not, stay in the 1. Series. How many people do you think are going to be like, yes, give me that? Because I'm trying to kind of anticipate demand and not run out of chains, folks.
Right. That's always a tough one there. But, my initial gut tells me 15-foot chain, solid piece. But from a price point, you might get somebody that's just playing around out in their garage and not really making any money or anything, and the 4-foot chain might be better still.
Yeah, they're actually really easy to link. So we've got these like little quick connects.
Right.
So there's no chain breaking required. It's just attaching to the end. But then on top of that, the other thing is like, I forgot to mention this, you'd still have to mark your own chains or measure out the lengths on your own chains, because I'm saying like the 92nd link is where for the standard frame you hang the cotter pin, right? So they would really have to get really precise. Yeah. Otherwise we'd send them 15-foots and they'd be pre-dotted with the color coded marks.
Yeah, pre-dotted would have helped me out a lot, but again, it's all about price.
It doesn't even necessarily have to be pre-dotted, because I mean, it's it's number 25 roller chain. So each link is 1/4 inch. All you have to do is say, measure, 10 feet, 9 3/4 inches and place a mark there. And then you can do that all on the ground before you sling it all up onto the frame. And then you've got the same outcome.
It's true, but the challenge there is working with these chains. They do have the capacity to kind of just bend a little bit. So if you're not like pulling tension into them, you could get off by a link. That's my concern anyway. But you're right. Yeah, Ryan, you're absolutely right. Ideally, and I think for power users and for existing users, we could probably trust them to do that if we express it clearly enough. Like, hey, you need to clamp this sucker down and then put a nail in the other end and pull it taut before you go about measuring these things.
Yeah, that's the way I found my centers versus doing the cotter pin method to make sure my chains were even, is I just measured them out and marked predetermined. Every what did I do? Every 100 lengths, I marked the chain before it was set up. That way everything was good to go. And I had base points that I could measure off of from that point.
Right.
And that's the reason that they're actually going to be marked, so you don't have to do all that. That's why they're pre-marked, that's the main reason. Mm-hmm. So that's one less step you have to use to get going,
Yeah. I think you have to remember who our user base is, right?
Yes.
I'm just estimating that probably 20% of our user base probably has the 15-foot top beam. Not everybody does. I know whenever I'm talking to a lot of people on Facebook, the majority still have the standard 10-foot top beam.
Right.
But the other side of that is because of the nature of this system, it is an entry-level CNC. I would say probably 80% of the people that buy this have never used a CNC before. And even more than that, probably 30% of the people that have never used a CNC before probably are not, I mean, woodworkers per se, right? They're looking at purchasing this unit to make home decor items they could sell on Etsy, etc. And they're not fully being nice, right? They're not really mechanically inclined. So you got to think about the user base on those levels. So in my thoughts, I say you just offer the 15-foot chains with the dots on them, keep it simple. And then you don't have to carry the 4-foot chains, the additional links all in stock. Everybody you just order a new set of chains and call it.
That's right. Yeah.
And I was going to second that in the fact that when you updated from the Mega to the Do board, and you offered the ability to flash the BIOS on the board to get to the new version of the software, it seems like that comes up in the Facebook group a lot. Like there's a lot of people that have the problem, and you probably get a lot of customer support tickets because of that.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking if you do the 4-foot and you tell them to just have that little extension to put them all together, then they got to measure out their chain length, and they've got to do all this other stuff. You're adding a lot of complexity for your user base, which is probably going to increase your support tickets. So if you want to avoid that, simplify it for what you're offering. Right. It's gonna hurt because I'm sure the cost is a lot higher for the user purchasing it, but at the same time, your cost is going to go up if you try to lower it down in your support.
Yeah. I
so
think
here's the other thing that I think is going to put a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. And I don't know how you want to handle this, Patrick, but I can guarantee you that a lot of people are a little irritated that if they want to go to the new software, they have to spend money with MakerMade because that is an open source software. Everybody sees it's that. It should be free. The software is free, but you're saying, oh, but if you want the new software, you have to spend money.
Right.
So I think that's going to put a bad taste in some people, right? But you just have to explain it however you market, you'd have to let them know.
I'd also want to add a caveat to that. Like I just purchased the unit just now. And apparently what you're saying is in less than 3 weeks, when just about the time I'm going to have my frame built, if I want to use the new software, I'm going to have to update my chains.
So we will be, we are launching with the new version of the kit that we will be shipping. So we are launching with the variants that will be essentially in the box, right? But our next stepwise approach is then to backfill those existing customers who still have the regular 11-foot chains in a different frame. It's just that the easiest starting point for 2.0 was preset frame. And then step 2 is now free frame design, right? Enter your dimensions like we do today, and that will then fully support it. I don't know what the full timeline is for that. I would assume it's about 6 to 8 weeks after that. So it's like either get 15-foot chains or wait 6 to 8 weeks, and then you can migrate over to 2.0. The other thing from your end, Don, that I can tell you is that if you just bought your setup, nobody's going to get the M2 for that price ever again, at least not in this variant. We are not discounting to that price again because our cost really truly is going up. So yeah, we're not going to be doing any kind of big discounting.
That's why I pulled the trigger when I did. Honestly, I saw that price for the Black Friday and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to beat that.
Yeah, I pushed for that price. I wanted it back under $1,000 again, and we definitely saw it was our best month ever. So thank you for that. But I definitely fought my director of marketing on it tooth and nail, and the agreement we came to is okay, never again. This is the last time.
Well, so I just had one other point you were talking about, adding, just selling the like upgrade kit where you can have the, the master link and then just adding onto the chain. What if you had, in there, like, all you need is a piece of like essentially fishing line or whatever on it with a hook on the end. You hook those two together, you pull your chain taut, and you can even, once it's that way, if it's a ribbon cable, even you can say, okay, well, if you start out and you bend your link over and then just make a coil of it, then it's always going to be the same length, right? Because then there's no difference of how it's going to bend or whatever. Your circumference is always going to be your deciding factor.
I like that concept. And what we're trying to decide right now is like, see what that easiest solve is there like that. And then go, okay, from there, is it easier to create a guide for that process? Or is it easier for us to just do it on our end and then have it pre-done for the user when they get it, right? Because we got a container on the water right now, and it's got a bunch of 15-foot chains that are currently totally unmarked. So that's the big question, right?
Right. Well, the reason I'm bringing that up is because what you were just saying is that you're kind of worried about the existing users that might balk at the fact that they have to spend, the $70 or whatever for new chains, where you could say, okay, well, here's the other option. We send out a piece of measuring tape and, a couple of hooks that cost $8 and the end of the chain. So, you're now down to 25 or 30.
Right.
Instead of the 60, and that will appease those people essentially.
Yeah, it's the challenge of this.
Patrick, I totally feel sorry for all those college kids that work for you, all that chain. I could see 10 college kids now in the warehouse stretching chain with paint pens, putting little dots on.
I'll say
I've done
exactly.
Back to work, surfs.
I'll tell you exactly what I tell my daughter. Builds character. And you need a lot of character building.
Look.
Yeah, but you know what? By college, when you say that, they're like, "What? Are you kidding me? Character? Who the hell needs character?"
Oh yeah, it's hilarious because like one of our interns, he's the one who's building or designing all the CAD files for the laser mounts and things, and then the next, and he's making incredible products that we're shipping around the world, and the next day he's just schlepping boxes around the office, and so he's getting the full gamut, right?
Hey, we all did it. We all did it.
Hand him a plunger and point him to the bathroom next time he complains.
Yeah, exactly right. We had one that we had to let go for just for balking at stuff like that. I was like, you know what? I'm willing to put in the work. I was cleaning dishes this morning when I got in the office. So.
That's right.
Yeah, in college I was a Sears tool man. Hey man, you do what you gotta do, right?
Tool man.
That's right. I sold tools at Sears. Yeah.
Nice.
Do what you gotta do.
I taught tennis lessons in college.
What?
Yeah, I taught tennis for 12 years.
Holy cow.
That's how I got paid. That's how I got my debt paid down quick. I worked 2 jobs in college, a library and tennis teacher. Yeah.
So for this frame that we have here, I don't know, Patrick, do you have any idea when you want to do the unveiling and take pre-orders and stuff like that? Because to be honest with you, I've had several people private messaging me, asking me when these things are going to be ready.
Yeah, we can definitely do a pre-sale soon. So what I need, Casey, is, did you give me the final BOM on it? Was that essentially finalized?
No, I'm doing like I said, I'm doing my as build right now. I'm changing out a couple of clips, changing some of the locations of the clips. So I can get you a final BOM here soon, but I just have to change my as built drawing, and I could probably send it over to you and you can have your intern there. Draw it up and whatever, because I'm just doing it in Google SketchUp for now. I mean, I'm not going to go through and do official CAD drawings and everything else, right? That you would have to use for your supply.
So what we're running up, a couple things. The only 2 constraints right now are just the costing. So just getting that final BOM so I can cost it out. And then we're running up against like Chinese New Year, right? So I think we may be able to source the bulk of these components in the US, which is obviously the goal. But if we're getting a substantive premium for US source, then I'll probably go overseas, but then we're butting up against Chinese New Year. So my goal is going to be to place an order as quick as possible so that we can have the stock available to begin a pre-sale and given a specific date on launch. But I don't see any reason why we can't launch this definitely in January. If not, we're just running up against the holiday really. Otherwise, I'd say end of this month. Right. So we're
that's
right
something
there.
that I live pretty close to where you're at. I think you're in Fayetteville, right? Would that be something I could come down and pick up? I don't know if you guys got a shop or anything down there that's open retail, but
You got to keep your lips tight though. We're not technically allowed to do it, but yes, you could.
hey, I'll do a will call. I'll pay for it online. I'll come down and pick it up. How's that
Perfect.
sound?
There we go.
Patrick will put it in his truck or his car in the trunk, and you can just swing by and pick it up.
Yeah, we'll just go online.
I got a pile of pallets in my truck right now.
Oh, there you go.
I don't know what I'm going to do with that wood, but I wanted it for something. I'll show y'all real quick. We just put in a big order for a school locally, and we're doing all the assembly on the 3D printers down the line there. I don't know if y'all can see that.
Nice.
We got a couple interns coming in to help assemble those too. We got new firmware flashing for them as well.
I want one of those really bad. I've never had one, but I could see some potential to make a lot of money with those.
They're a lot
So
of fun.
give me access again on my, here, just let me do it.
Oh,
Hold on.
Yep. Let me spotlight you.
Yeah.
Yep. There you go.
Yeah,
So how
don't
long-
worry about the background. My shop is still dirty. I'm still.
Casey, we're
rearranging.
gonna have to get you the new firmware too.
You don't
Yeah,
have to
I talked to Drew.
details
He
there.
was going to send me the new firmware, but I think the new firmware has a filament run out. It has several of the items I was asking for. I love
Yes.
that, but that's also some components that got to go with it. Like you need the filament run out sensor and yeah.
Exactly.
Say you wanted to make something about 5 inches square, like a cube. What do you think the average runtime on something like that would be?
6 hours.
5-inch cube. It depends on your infill, but listen, folks, I got a Creality up here too. There isn't much difference in the print time. The only thing I'm working with Drew and them on is this with the 300X is the print bed. They're working on some better magnetic bed, but other than that, it's some firmware items. There's some things that were left out of the original, but I think it's going to be updated in this firmware based on Drew. He's going to send it to me to test. It'll have almost all of the same features that this Creality has.
Okay.
So that, trust me, from a print standpoint, that's what you need. It almost becomes plug and play. So you don't need to know a lot about printing to get up and running.
What about the resolution? Is it pretty smooth?
Resolution. So the resolution is 0.0001 millimeters.
Wow. Okay.
And you can do 3 different settings. Fastest print. So you can see in some of mine, I do super fast prints, but you can see where it doesn't.
I don't know why I'm leaning in, but I am. So.
Yeah, you can see kind of weird things there. It doesn't print. It's not worried about accuracy. But then there's other things where you can print. Look at that.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah,
you
super
didn't
smooth.
do anything
See
to
it
the
shiny
outer or shiny
edge.
like that. That came out that way, shiny.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, you'll know, and you can see how accurate it is.
Yeah.
So
And
I mean, it's super.
So filament costs are pretty reasonable too, or?
Oh, I don't know. I spend about $19 on mine. Again, here you can see my plethora of junk down here. I even got some in boxes I haven't opened yet, but these 2 printers run day and night.
Wow.
They run day and night. I do those orders for the desk collection. And that's what's going on right here on this printer is you can see one of the desk collection bodies being printed now.
Yeah.
And that body itself is 36 hours to print.
Whew.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Cross your fingers on power outages. That's one the other day, and that totally must be.
Well, no, it has, the Creality has resume print. So if you have a power outage, it stops and cools down. And when the power comes back, you just touch the screen and it says resume print and you click yes. And that is one of the updates that the M300 or the 300X is getting, I believe, is the resume print.
Perfect.
Yeah. So we've gone through all of that, folks, for anybody that's looking at the printers. I think Drew and them are really getting some good upgrades going there on those. So it's been a while, but we'll get them. It's getting there.
Okay, cool. Thanks for going off topic there for a little bit.
Bob, I'd say if you're talking 5 cube, depending to Casey's point, depending on infill, we see somewhere between 6 and 10 hours. Yeah, just depends on how hollow it is.
Hey, jumping back on Casey's frame.
Yeah.
How big are the slots in that frame?
It's standard 20. It's standard 20 series extruded.
Okay, I've seen some that have like different thicknesses of the slot itself, like 6 millimeter, 8 millimeter.
That's because it's not standard 20 series. You're looking at different series extruded. Okay. So if you look at the 20 series, 40 series, 30 series, 60 series, they're all different.
Okay, I'll look that up. Thanks.
Yep.
Cool. Let's see. We got Lauren on here. Matt. What's up, guys?
How's it going?
Okay.
I was a little late because I had a meeting at work, but no kidding, Casey. I've got the exact same plan I'm trying to do in wood. I have French cleats on the wall, and I want to mount it to the French cleats, and I wanted it to swing away from the wall, like Casey pointed out. And I've got all the wood purchased. I just haven't been able to get in the garage and work on it yet because of Christmas, gifts and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm really interested in this, and I've got a wood frame design that I'm gonna do. It'll pull out and make a table when it's not all the way against the wall. I'll have it pulled out to make like a 4 foot by 8 foot table. But so I already purchased the 8 foot or the longer chains, and I was planning on making an upgrade. So I've got it in the works already. So yeah.
Does that, since you're first off, if you all haven't seen Matt's French cleat system he's got on his wall, it's beautiful. But 2, Matt, is your system, your frame, going to be removable and movable on that cleat system? Because that would be amazing.
Yeah. Well, and if you look at Casey's, he just puts a top board on there. That might as well be a French cleat, right?
Exactly.
I mean, that could be a French cleat. And that's the whole reason I was going to design this. But Patrick, I was going to make these 2 separate. So like the motor mounts and stuff, if you need us to move that up, that's a separate thing. I need to make that wide enough to accept this swinging frame underneath it. But then those 2 could be moved or could be, changed around. So yeah, I'm looking at doing something very similar. It won't be made out of aluminum extrusion like Casey's, but I'm really interested in getting this very similar design, because I realized that, yeah, I only need to hang it from the top and I can get it at 15 degrees. And then, but in some cases, I just want to have a table to assemble things or do something else.
So I thought about that same thing. You can put a dual hinge on it, and you can have it fold up against the wall, or have it pull 2 pins, and then have it pull out flat. And you could actually use the legs on the bottom to drop down to have a table front.
Yeah.
My problem is then I'm going to use that thing as a damn table.
Yeah.
And here's my table now.
Yeah.
Right. And then what I do to my tables, I put nails in it. I got glue on them, and I'll just mess up the surface. You need to keep that surface clean, smooth, the best you can. I know you put some, you do a little, it's spoil board, right?
Yep.
But you don't get rough edges on it with the bits. It's engraved. So I don't know. That's why I just thought, I'm afraid to do that. And then I could bend it easily by throwing a 60-pound cabinet on it, thinking I'm going to sand something down. And
Right.
yeah, I just built a whole different system that I just didn't want to take that chance, I guess.
Understood. I like the design you came up with. And again, I missed the intro, so I didn't hear all the details about it, but it looks very similar to my design here, just except for the swinging out for the table. So
cool design, man.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing them finish that.
So for up here at the top, Matt, you can see them up here on the 2 corners.
Yep.
They're actually spring-loaded pins. They're hinged. So the whole thing hinges on those, but you can literally grab one pin, grab this top beam right here with one hand.
Yep.
Push over on a pin, and the whole thing drops down from the wall.
Really?
Yeah, it's a quick release system because if I want to change out my spoil board, I want to be able to lay the spoil board on the floor, grab my frame, lay it on top of the spoil board, screw it down, and then rehang it.
Are those
And
gate hinges?
This whole frame right here, this
Yep.
whole frame, I can lift it with one hand.
Yeah.
So it's
great.
pretty light. Yeah, it's pretty light. Now with yours, you could easily, instead of putting that long piece of wood in the back,
Yep.
put your cleats on it so it'll slide back and forth, and just keep those hinge pins so it'll still hinge out and work.
Yep.
But you could slide it anywhere on your wall you wanted to. That's a nice upgrade.
Yeah. Yeah. I like the design. I'm really impressed, and I'm sorry I missed the beginning. I somebody called me during work. I had to figure out something, but anyways, good idea. And I honestly have this design since 10/23. So this isn't something I just sketched up just now. So
see, I came up with it not right now.
You mean 10/23? You mean 10/23 this morning?
Yeah.
Good one.
October.
Hey Lauren, how you doing? Haven't seen you for a while down there.
Yeah, the background's a little different. I just changed to a new job yesterday, so
Congrats.
it's been a little chaotic. But I've also, my wife's been I've been teasing her. She's been working me to the bone. We're probably gonna hit 2,000 plus ornaments before Christmas.
Whoa!
Yeah, we've been turning them out. Yeah.
What are you making all those on?
Almost every last one of them's on that M2. Just going to town. I've burned through close to 10 bits at this point. Just
What are you making?
From paw prints to now, like it kicks off like the states are now. I'm making all kinds of states. People see them, and neighbors are coming by down the road. People will drive by. We've started making postal workers love we made little envelopes. People make ornaments for their postal workers. It's just been chaotic. Like I've been working to about 1 a.m. every night. And then
it won't be long and you'll be able to retire from your day job there, buddy.
Yeah. The real thing that is the V carve. Getting better at the V carve. Trust me, I'm pretty sure the what they call it, not the coils, but my router is going to need to be replaced at this rate. Like I'm running it nonstop.
The brushes.
That's what I was like. Yeah, I knew you would have the right time. But yeah, I need to go check them because it's starting to make a little noise, and I'm like, I probably put on average about 5 hours a night on it, and then running close to 12 to 14 hours on the weekend. So it's been a lot of fun. Yeah.
Lauren,
I don't know. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So I was just gonna say, whenever you've got, it doesn't have to be now, but like back into the holidays, please, when you get a chance, reach out to Emily or Sarah and just give them a quick summary of what you've done. Because I would, if you're open to it, I'd love to feature something about that. Like just the absolute volume that you've pumped out on that machine is like that's aspirational right there for a lot of folks.
No, it's really, the real fun has been, how do I make things faster? How do I expedite the process? Because I was just listening in. I was just happy to be on the call. A few meetings back, we discussed how to clean out the bottom or the pocketing. So after many iterations of tests, I think I've narrowed it down to what works for me. So get yourself a lighter and go to Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever and buy yourself the Gorilla glue sticks. You basically just hole punch sandpaper, heat up the end of the glue stick, stick it to the sandpaper, and then put it in your drill. And it cleans it up fast. And then the sandpaper wears out, you clip off the end of the glue stick. So I cut them down to about 1.5 inches long. And I just keep flipping them, and I'm still working on my first glue stick.
Well, Lauren, you're really competing with me with redneck intervention here.
I got so frustrated sanding the bottom because I'd be like, I'd be burning through bits, and I'm like, man, like I can't, like the bits can't be running out. So I'm like, I got to extend the life of that bit a little bit longer. But I was like, oh my God, it's such a mess doing the pockets and stuff like that.
You've got to record this.
It cleans it up. I'm like, hey, what can I say? If it works, if it's stupid, but it works, it ain't stupid.
You got to record.
Do what?
You got to record yourself doing a version of this, man. I got to see this to believe it.
Yeah, it's just wild. My wife watched me do it, and I tried everything. I tried all kinds of stuff, and I just couldn't get it to be effective. I bought all kinds of bits to try to do it, and it just wasn't working because you can buy all kinds of like sanding bits, but they're just not effective at cleaning a pocket cleanly.
Well, I remember we printed something for you, and I sent you the files that hook
those
your
things.
jigsaw.
I'll tell you, those things are money. They really clean up. Like I use them more than my desktop sander because those getting in those corners, you know, like no state's got the perfect. It's all everything inside. Like Arkansas, we've done a bunch of Arkansas, and you know that the east coast of Arkansas is the Mississippi River, and you can get some pretty good detail with those sanding jigs for a jigsaw. They really are. If guys wanted them, I mean, I'm not. I just want to help the community with that product. I'm burning through mine.
Wow.
See, for me, those were printed, and they take any sandpaper. But when I tried them here, man, you put them into your skill saw. Wow, they remove material real fast, real quick.
So
I always thought that would be neat to have a whole set of those available in the MakerMade store for people that are making stuff. They can go in there and buy the kit, right? And they can just attach their own sandpaper to it.
Well, that's why last night we were talking about the printer, because I've been waiting for 2 months now to get my power unit, to get my printer up and running. I'm just gonna have to buy a new one. I'm so over this foreign printer game. And so really, like, it's such a, like, they're so handy. And I run mine. What I did on mine is I put the Velcro on it, some heavy duty Velcro, so that you can, the pill and stick, and then you just cut squares out fast and easy, stick it on. And even mine, like, you know how mine's a T? I was actually going to talk to you and modify a little bit, because when you make it a T instead of just a square, the edge of the T now doubles as that 1/8 inch. You know what I'm saying? You can turn it sideways instead of having to change the bit. And I'm telling you, I look funny. I'm sure, I know my neighbors are like, what is he doing out there cutting? I'm not cutting, I'm sanding. But yeah, no, the machine can take some punishment. I tell you. Yeah, I really I need to, like, because we're looking at probably moving within the next 6 months to location unknown yet. It's just my time to move. And I was excited about seeing your design, because portability for me, like being able to move locations and not have to tear down the wood, the whole, like, unscrewing everything, the ability to zap it together or not. I don't know when you're planning on moving to the 15, because like I just ordered a tabletop CNC as well. Me and Casey, he kind of showed me some different things, but the M2 has so many functions that make it still viable for me to have a tabletop and an M2 running side by side. Is really gonna take the business to another level.
So the way this works, Lauren, is this is a single frame. You've seen that in the video just a little bit ago, but up here on these corners, those right there are actually spring-loaded hinges. And all you do is you grab the edge of the hinge and you pull out, and the whole frame just drops down from the wall. Yeah, because I was actually looking at being able to, like, even take mine home when I come home to visit, whatever. Because that's what we were looking at the holidays, right? And being in the military, like, I don't get to choose where I live, like, and I'm probably always gonna have to drive or whatever but to not shut down the business, be able to take it, set it up in my parents' shop or set it up in my relatives' shops and just continue running the business while on on family leave or whatever. And to be able to just attach it to the wall and keep running. That's kind of the dream.
point.
No, man, you don't want to do that. You want to get with Patrick and hook up with some of his interns and turn them into M2 slaves there. That's what you need to do, man. Just make me 500 of these. Just make
How did
me
you know
600 of
the
these.
job description that I had out posted? M2 slave.
That's the path you need to go. Don't travel with that thing. Just find some kids and say, hey, $8 an hour and a can of Diddy Moore beef stew, and you're good.
Yeah, that's always the plan. Then I'll be calling you, Patrick, for those phone numbers.
Sounds good. Sounds good. We just keep them stored in the closet when we're not using them.
Yeah. But now I was going to ask, what are y'all's recommendations? Because I'm really getting into this. I really love expanded aluminum. Where do you purchase it at a decent cost? Because there's so many places to sell it. I mean, you Google it, and you got 1,000 different stores that sell it.
Bulkman 3D, I buy from them a lot.
Okay, that's okay. Yeah, Casey turned me on to that store. I didn't know if that was like the best option, just because the shipping time on that company is like you're gonna wait 60 days.
Exactly. So they're good costs, but they're pretty lengthy in time. Honestly, I say Amazon a lot of times. You have a limited selection in terms of specific length, but it's so easy to cut down. Right.
Yeah.
So
and it's light.
I've never seen anything around 2,000 millimeters. I've never seen anything around 6 feet on Amazon, but I've seen 2 foot, 3 foot. Matter of fact, I haven't even seen 4 foot. That's very rare. But I mean, if you're looking at small pieces for something, Amazon is a good place to go.
Yeah. Are you guys talking about cutting through the aluminum with the M2?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Heat aluminum you can, but not you wouldn't want to.
Because even for me, I love that design, Casey. I was actually looking at what are the options to build one that doesn't have to stick to a wall. You know what I'm saying? Like it collapses on itself, but you can still roll it around. You know what I mean? Like it's got its own standalone with wheels on the bottom, but it still collapses in, the legs still, and you can roll it up against the wall or whatever. Because that's really like everything. Like me and the wife, as we're looking towards the future, the ability to adjust your shop and flex it and not have to take it down from the wall, but actually just. And if you look at my shop, y'all have seen it before. I'm still running the original setup, but the reason being is I can keep 5 to 6 sheets of plywood on the back.
Yeah.
Right. There's a lot of flaws in the original, but just having that is nice. Having like the size. The thing about expanded aluminum, I was thinking about too is, for me, I have all kinds of tools hung on the side of my machine. All my rulers, tape measures, squares, all that kind of stuff to help dial in exactly where I want to put the component or where I want to start cutting. All those are attached to the side. I've got a pencil holder, all that stuff. So expanded aluminum, all you do is you just attach a bracket. You can attach your own. So that's really nice.
I would feel though like that would be best served as a hybrid, like your back legs and everything, and your bottom legs being 2x4, just to cut down on costs. Because I'm just worried about you're talking about 7 foot long pieces on the back. I don't know, Casey, what do you think about that?
I've already got it in my head. It's actually not that hard. It would still be the mini frame design. Instead of it hanging up on the wall, it would still hinge and pivot at the bottom, but you would just have rollers on the bottom, and then you'd just have to have 2 brackets. So whenever the top pivoted back, there would be 2 angle pieces that it would lay into 2 saddles. Right. So you can actually, fold it up, pivot those out, take the whole thing, fold it together and lean it against the wall if you wanted to get rid of it or get it out of the way. Or you can pull it out, lay the feet down, pivot in the saddles, lean it back. Then you could roll the whole thing all over the shop that you wanted to. And then with the expanded metal on the side, well, that's nothing. You could build little boxes and stuff that's, with some little M5 screws to make little pockets and stuff to hang all of your tools anywhere that you wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually the exact same design, just
with a base for it.
Even almost the same base. It would just be maybe one more piece of aluminum down there, and of course the rollers. It wouldn't be that And then you'd need 2 pieces of aluminum at 45 with a saddle on them. And those you can put on hinges to fold out, and they only go so far. So whenever the back hinges over, it goes under tension onto those 45. So you have a 45 here, and your frame comes back and rests against it. And then what you're doing is the weight of that top frame is distributed down that to that bottom frame on the wheels. So it distributes all the weight of everything you put onto that onto the floor from the top to the bottom. Sorry, engineer coming out of it. But yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be that hard to do. You could actually, Patrick, maybe that's something we want to look at, is a floor frame kit.
Yeah.
I don't know.
As an upper price point version of it. Yeah.
I mean,
that flexibility is important for folks.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, like, if you could keep, like, I still think the M2 is a completely viable purchase if you can keep it under 2K. The amount of stuff you can do is there. The challenge that I see is it's almost like I want to hold a forum on the website or on the Facebook page, because it seems like every day somebody's selling one. And I want to know, like, what got you to buy it and then give up like this? Like, usually they're selling it, it seems, between 3 and 6 months.
Yeah.
And
sure.
I understand. I want to get in the mindset of why would somebody buy something and then give up on it? Like, what drives that? And I don't really know, like, just as like me personally, like, when I first saw it, I was like, oh, this is going to be interesting. Like, we all like, but I viewed it as a challenge. Like, how do I, and other people, I guess they don't. I really try to figure out what drives that.
That's what it is. That's what it is. When it comes to that, if it's still in the box and they really haven't set up anything, that's what it is. It's they get intimidated. You know what that's called? That's called buyer's remorse. Okay, I own a Onefinity. Okay, and Onefinity is one thing. If Onefinity, it has it on their warranty, and it says that they'll return, they'll do everything, but not buyer's remorse. They do not, buyer's remorse. And that's the thing, is people get intimidated with the box and the components, and they say, and they just get timid, and then they're past their 30 days, and they can no longer get a refund, because we are a business, and we have to keep on going, so they decide to sell it, and that's what it is, and then there's people that cannot calibrate it correctly. They're not doing the frame correctly, and so they're trying to sell it. And then of course you have your other people that have money issues, that problems happen in life, and they just use it as a hobby, and they're selling them.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, again, because of the nature of this M2, right? The it being an entry level, its capabilities. I think we see a lot of people that buy them with dreams of easy money and glory, trying to do what Lauren's doing, right? And the reality is they get it. Yeah, they get it, and then they realize, holy crap, this is real work, right? And then you see it on there. I don't have time for it. It's not meeting my needs, etc. But I can tell you, from a person that owns, different types of CNCs, the others are no different. A gantry CNC is no different, folks. It takes love and care and maintenance, and you have to do the same thing with those. The only difference is here, I had to build an entirely new table to take up half of my shop for that monster, where that one folds flat against the wall. So yeah, we can talk about gantry CNCs and accuracy all you want, but the reality is the gantry CNC it's not like plug and play, go to town, have a great time. It's just as much work as the M2.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I'm really interested, based on what you said, Lauren, about moving too, that Casey, that's something I had not thought about with the frame, is that it will make, when somebody tries to sell it on there too, it's like, how do I get rid of this frame? Like, you can pick up the frame, like this it's a monster, right? But if you could pack up the frame and ship it,
yes,
that would be super valuable. And at some point I want to find a way to make it viable for MakerMade to buy the product back, obviously at a lower, we're not going to buy it back at full price, but then we could potentially refurb or ship to somebody in the community who is officially the refurb person, gets a, a cut for when we sell that at a discounted rate on the website. And then we're not, mass producing more and more machines if we don't need to. We're reusing the existing machines in the community, bringing less product overseas and keeping, again, the money in the community. That's something that I would love to, and I think the frame, Casey's frame, really enables that. Just a thought, though.
Yeah, and for you, like what you were saying, Lauren, every time you move, I know you're with the military, every time you move, you pull 2 pins, throw it in the truck, and away you go, right? No more having to tear down the frame or worry about bending the thing out of whack while you're trying to load it into the truck.
Well, that was what I got really excited about, was like, so just a little bit about the story. When I first bought this thing, it arrived less than 7 days before I left to go home to see family for Christmas. And I was like, you know what? My dad's a woodworker. Like, he's the one that got me into this. Like, I'm just going to take it with me. So I packed the box up. I told him, like, hey, we're going to go lumber shopping when I get there. We loaded it up. I got there, grabbed a trailer, went down to the local lumber store and started picking up the equipment. Well, now that I'm done on Christmas, well, I've got to go back to work. So I packed it up in Arkansas. Like, it took me a minute to be like, how am I going to load this thing in the back of my truck, take it back, and reestablish it in my garage? And there was some complications to it, but really, like you were saying, the difference was it was heavy. Like, it was bulky. Like, I left him the top beam and the spool board. Everything else, I took it apart at partial components, loaded it up, and brought it back. And then putting it back together, obviously I'm a genius. So when I went to put it back together, of course I wouldn't put it back upside down. But guess what? I did. I put it back together and I was like, I did that backwards because I did it by myself. And it's one of those things, like, if it was a plug and play system that I could literally take and wrap in a band and throw in the back of the truck or in a trailer, like, that's where it's at. And
For sure.
we've even looked at doing, it really comes down to, we're not wanting to get ahead of ourselves, but as you move towards a potential, like, location, get out of the garage, get like, not necessarily a full brick and mortar, but in that concept, like, actually have a shop, the ability to do that. Because I told my wife, I was like, look, I know you started this business, but the vision I see is I could actually have 2 of the M2s, a gantry CNC to complement the weaknesses of the M2, and then we just go to town. Because at this point, really only challenge I have, there's 2 challenges that I see with the M2. One, it's just not as fast. And specifically where it struggles in speed is any pocketing or V-carve. Because it still does pocketing great. It just struggles with speed.
Well, it struggles because it has to let gravity keep up. So it can do a straight line, but the moment you got to make that line go back and forth rapidly, that's the part where it just goes, no, I'm too slow for that, right?
Well, I think the challenge even with that right now is the motors. Mm-hmm. Because when I tested it, like I'm talking with Drew, I think it's the motors can't keep up if you try to ramp it up, because I easily move it 35 inches per minute with high accuracy. Like, I've tested it. It's very accurate. Especially with doing pocketing. But at the end of the day, if I bump it over 40, just anywhere over 40, it starts doing weird things, not due to the weight. It's due to the motors. But that's here nor there. The other issue is doing V-carve, because you have to take extremely shallow passes, or it'll cause, because let's be honest, a V-carve bit is a ramp, and it really will just cause that sled to pick up. And I'm trying to rack in my head, like, how do I improve the sled to where it wants to stay to the board? And I'm not really sure there's a way.
Weight on top of the sled rather than on the bottom, I would think.
But what's your plunge rate? What's your plunge rate?
So you actually can't go, if you go above 10 inches per minute on your plunge rate, the motor, the actual Z-axis motor y'all sell, will start to become uncalibrated. So at 10 inches per minute, it'll go dead on. It'll come to a dead stop. If you go above 10, it'll miss a step, plunge too deep, and then pop back up. And that's when I started testing that, is when I found out it is definitely the motor's missing steps.
Yeah. So here, just real quick here, folks, two things.
Hey, Casey, I gotta hop off for a 12:30 call. Can I pass this off to Mike, to you?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Make host, sweet. Change host, great. Mike, you're the host now. Last thing, I'm gonna bounce, but think about like a crate. How would I manufacture on the M2 a crate to pack the M2 inside of, so that I could ship it to somebody else, just as a standard template that somebody can cut out, pack it all in, and then ship it to the next person. Just a thought. Anyway, I gotta run.
Yeah.
See you guys. Bye.
Bye.
So Lauren, for your issue. So I learned this a long time ago, right? Engineering 101. You can't engineer out physics. It doesn't go away no matter how much you want it to. Number two, you cannot engineer out gravity. Doesn't go away. It's always there. So in conjunction with the sled and the friction, utilizing gravity at two connection points for a triangulation calculation, it's going to have a limit to where when you're running and those two motors are turning, it's going to be moving. And when those motors want to stop and go a different direction, the sled is going to, it's like your car. It's got inertia. You can't stop inertia. Okay. It's going to move, and you'll get a little bump in your design where that sled kept moving because you were moving too fast and the weight of the sled wanted to keep going.
No,
There are
so I
things
tested
you
that
just
stuff.
cannot get around on this. So it does have speed limits, bottom line.
Oh, for sure. So I actually, the way I proved it was what is the gravity problem versus the motor problem, is you would see a point where that would actually occur, where you'd see the sled doing that, but you'd also see points, a lot of points, even at like, because you would see the shift as soon as you hit 41. Like there's no way that it runs fine at 35, but as soon as you hit 40 to 41, that 5 additional inches per minute goes into chaos. And it's because it's starting to miss steps, and it'll do weird things. Because I would see it cut perfectly one time and through an area with no like any sway, but then the next time it would do something funky, and I'm like, it's because it's missing those steps. The motor cannot. And so you're 100% right. But there's one of those things, like I haven't had the time, like this isn't the time with this many orders for me to be tinkering with getting additional motors to test that theory. But I even played with like, what happens if I take the weight to 45 pounds?
You start messing around with the weight. The weight is actually calculated in the triangular calculation via newtons.
Right.
And what happens is those gearboxes are only rated for so much. I know Patrick says he likes to see 25 pounds on the sled. For me, that's a lot of weight for those gearboxes. It runs, but to be honest with you, from a reliability engineering standpoint, I don't know how long it'll take that weight, and then moving at the higher speeds like you're doing, I think you'll really, those motors and the gearboxes will pay for that in the long run.
No, you're not wrong. Like I said, these were tests. These were like, hey, can I get away with it? What does it actually affect it? Where I came back to, when the reason why I was testing it was I was trying to find that perfect medium, right? I had some time on my hands. What is the perfect medium to where when I create a G-code file, this is like, it's almost always, these are my inches per minute, and this is my feet, or like, this is my depth per cut. So that I can create, because at the end of the day, I've got a design. I'm spending at least one night a week, like not even in the shop, like designing all the stuff that's been ordered, and the rest of the week. And if I'm constantly having to adjust, what was the happy medium? And for me, for the bits I'm running, I'm comfortable in the depth per pass at 1/8 inch per minute, or 1/8 inch depth at 35 inches per minute. it's very accurate with minimal cleanup. Now, as you know, feeding speeds, how fast you run that bit, whether you're cutting MDF or whatever, like, yeah, bits are going to wear out. Obviously, you shouldn't be making dust, those kind of things. But yeah, it was just trying to find that. And then the curiosity sometimes got the better of me. The machine's still together, thankfully. But
So if you want to increase your speed, this is just my 2 cents, take it or leave it, but I wouldn't increase weight. I would increase the angle of my cut board. So they ask for 15 degrees because they want that, they want minimal resistance against gravity, right? But you want to take out a little bit of that gravity. You're not going to get rid of it, but if you increase the angle, go from 15 to say 20 degrees, you're going to increase the resistance from the bottom of your sled to your workpiece, so that whenever it's moving, it won't have that ability to kick whenever it tries to change. You're going to take out some of the inertia.
yeah, no. I was thinking about that when I was V-carbon, because I was cutting. I mean, at this point, I mean, you've seen I have a collection, but what I actually found is if you keep your bits at 60, like you keep a 60-degree bit, it V-carbs very nicely. But that ramp of a 90-degree bit, just that little bit, causes more pain. Now, with that in mind, I could pull up some stuff. If you do it with MDF and you're fine with burning through your V-carb bits because you're basically cutting sandpaper, as we've discussed before, you can cut with any degree and it'll do pretty good because MDF is so consistent. But plywood is not the case. I've cut literally 3 different cuts the exact same side by side on plywood, and every one of them came back slightly different because of the change of density of wood and that ramping effect of the bit. But the 60-degree cut much better, just because that ramp is so steep. But I don't know. At the end of the day, the machine does more than I really expected it to from the beginning. I've really pushed it, so who am I to complain? I'm just hoping it holds up because I've still got a lot of cutting to do. I'm actually going on. I start leave tomorrow, so I'll have 24 hours a day in that garage for a minute. It'll be fantastic.
Yeah. All right. Is there anybody else that has anything? Anybody have anything else they want to share? Any designs, etc.?
I have a question. So Casey, how often? So when I don't need to tinker on the machine itself or build this new frame, I basically have to take it out of commission. Do you have a good like schedule or a guide on when to do that? Because I don't want to take it out of commission. That's why I haven't moved on that frame design, because basically if I do that, I won't be able to cut anything until that frame is done. Do you have a good guideline for when to take the machine down for upgrades and things like that?
You're talking about a maintenance schedule?
Well, not a maintenance schedule, like a guideline on how you take, because you have to put it out of commission for a certain amount of time if you're fiddling with a new frame or you want to upgrade the sled. I've got a new sled that I want to upgrade to, but I just haven't put it in because it basically puts me down, for making stuff. So I don't want to have that option, even though there's lots of downtime when I'm sleeping and things, but I don't have interns. So,
I recently had to swap out my sled, and I think I did it it was definitely less than 90 minutes. I didn't really time it, but it really didn't take that much time to take all the equipment off the old one and move it over.
Okay.
So here you go, guys. You see this frame over here, right? And then you see my other frames up here. I have 5 frames. I use them for R&D. Some of them are drilled, cut, glued, sanded. I mean, it takes me roughly 25 minutes to unbolt from one frame and put it on another. The only difference is I can't swap, of course, my old M2, the 2020 M2 with the 2021 M2. because the frame brackets are literally bolted. The 2020 aluminum is bolted to the Z axis on the 2020 version. On the 2021 version, they're separate. You got the stamped housing, right? The cut and bent housing, and those two bars stay on the board. So, you know, I don't know. I would say to swap out boards, if you're efficient and you have the tools on hand, which is just, I use, so, you know, I always keep a stock of these. I don't like those cheesy Allen wrenches. I have a whole set of these. With those, it maybe takes me 25 minutes, maybe 30 minutes to swap a sled if I need to.
Okay.
It's pretty quick. To swap motors.
You also have the jigs. Jigs help a lot. You also have jigs. Jigs help a lot.
So the centering jigs and stuff that I have that comes with the dust collection. Yeah, you're right. I put those down whenever I put my sled on the sled. I put those in, and then I put the Z axis on, and it's already lined up, and all I have to do is put it in mold. So a lot.
Well, you also mentioned something else though. You also, like, one of the best things, and I don't mean to cut you off too much, is you recognize what tools you use a lot and you keep them ready. So like I have screwdrivers specifically for my M2 that's their job. Their job is for removing the router, putting it back on, removing, like, everything's lined up. That exactly. So it's specifically
everything's right there.
Right. So you recognize that. And that's the thing. When you showed me that table the other day and we were talking about it, in my head, I was like, man, this makes things faster. Now I can, if I need to change something, because the challenge is every time you change something on the M2, the reality is that makes it challenging versus a gantry is the amount of calibration you got to do to get it running again.
Yeah.
And I know you're fast at it, but I am not that fast. And I'm still faster than a lot of other people. So they're assuming they change something. They're looking at 2 to 3 hours down just to get the calibration right. And a lot of them struggle so much with the calibration, they're selling it. So let alone. So a lot of them, once they get calibrated, they're like, I'm not touching that thing to save my life. Like, it's set up, I'm done.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is this kit will eliminate that. The calibration will be set almost from the start, probably within a millimeter from the back. And then you'll be able to get it down to probably half a millimeter if you just take the time to really dial it in, because no longer does it really matter, because your spool board will automatically be dialed in to the frame. Really, I don't care if my spool board is exactly the same. The biggest challenge you face with this one is your spool board is still wood, because you can't take that out of the mix. Yeah. So the reality that we face is our sled rides on something.
Yeah.
And I find that to actually be my largest variable with accuracy is my spool board unevenness, right? So like just cutting scrap woods that I've been doing for the ornaments that I've kind of shown, you're constantly putting side pieces around pieces so you can get rid of that scrap wood. Yeah. Any kind of tilt, that tilting or bumping or anything like that will throw the accuracy off a lot. Now, obviously, you clean it up with a flush trim bit, but still, that's just the reality. That's the only thing you won't be able to take out of that mix. Oh, yeah. Have you gotten the milling bit, the carbide milling bit?
No.
So if you really want to clean up, that one's a bit aggressive. They make one from Dremel just like it, but it's the orange.
Okay.
I don't know if you can pull it up, but it's very, it's one of those helical. It's for metal, but it actually cleans up wood very cleanly.
What's it called?
It's a carbide burr bit, I think is what it's called. Let me pull it up on my phone real quick.
Yeah, see, I'm very cautious about telling people how long, like what you were asking, Matt.
Yeah.
Because keep in mind, I am constantly tearing these things apart, putting them back together. Yeah. My poor units have probably been torn down and reassembled 30 or 40 times. And after about 10 or 15 times, you get pretty efficient at slapping it back together, right? But with this frame right here, the reason I started this frame, started this design almost 9 months ago, and I've been testing different pieces on it. The whole reason was if you look in the forum, you see so many people with accuracy issues. And the first thing I ask is, what's your motor offset? What's your motor distance? And what is the angle on each of those? And guarantee you one of those three are always off. Yeah. Every time. And that's just because A, it's made of wood. And B, the people, like I said earlier, the people that buy these aren't always woodworkers, but we're asking them to build a nice, perfectly square frame. That's never going to happen. Yeah. So my thought was, I want an out of the box solution to where you might put in a few bolts, some cross members, and you put a beam on the wall and you pull the pins and you hinge it, and you've got a frame ready to go. And all you have to do is, screw on a spoil board, hang your M2, and away you go. And the thought is you will have better than 3 millimeter accuracy out the door. Yeah. But the way the M2 software currently is, you still have to hand type in your measurements. Yep. So there's still a human error factor in there. Sure. But that's, again, you can't always engineer out the human error factor. It's going to be in there.
Yeah. Well, but like Lauren said, okay, Lauren, thank you. I have, it'll take me a couple hours to get it recalibrated because I want to get it right. And so if I mess with the frame at all, I'm gonna be messing with that. But I've got a bunch of upgrades that I want to do. I've got a new sled. I bought the larger chains, and I want to make that frame that I've been designing out of wood. And I thought, but the only thing is, I'm just worried about getting it back put all together, and then a couple hours in calibration or tweaking to get everything right. And I need 24 hours with my machine, like you're talking about, Lauren, just have a couple days off where you're just in the garage working only on that. But yeah.
building that frame you wanted, Matt, doing the upgrade on your M2 itself, the new sled, doing all the recalibrations. Yeah. If that was me, I could probably do it in, I'm thinking a 10-hour day. But again, think of what I do, right? Yeah. So I would think that it's probably going to take the average Joe out there 2, maybe even 3 days to cut, build, align that frame on the wall, make sure the hinges are all working perfectly. Yeah. Because you're talking about a double hinge slide table that slides in rails on the wall. Yeah. That's all going to take you a few days to work the bugs out on that. So if I was you, to be perfectly honest, you're going to need a week. Yeah. And then you work a day job, right? Yeah. You can't work on it every day. So, you got your day job, you got to keep going. So a week minimum.
Yeah.
Yeah. New Year's weekend sounds like a good time to start.
Yeah, that sounds, I've got all these things queued up and I just need to do it, but I don't have a good guideline on when to take it down. So, anyways, but thank you guys. I really appreciate the advice and stuff. I realize I don't want to monopolize the time, but I just had questions about it.
Yeah, you got to give me more time to talk.
Is there any more time? Anything else anybody wants to talk about? Anything they're building? Anything cool or any questions? Technical? I'll answer the best I can. I'm not the smartest or sharpest knife in the drawer, but I'll help where I can.
Yeah, I made this. I was playing around with a Texas SVG, and so I made this for Christmas. And then this is just the prototype. I used 3 millimeter plywood, so I was only supposed to cut through 2 millimeters, but it went all the way through on some of them because some of the wood glued or stuck to the parts that it ripped out. But I blew this up into 3 feet large, and I've got it outside where I'm going to drill holes in the heart. I didn't think it'd be great for the CNC to drill all those holes, but I'm going to put Christmas lights in that heart shape. Can you see that? Nice. And then have that staked out in the yard, so that's what I'm working on right now. And Just trying to seal it up and get the holes drilled. And, we have a bunch of old Christmas lights that are broken, and I'm trying to fix all the bulbs in them to get them working. So, but that's what I'm working on.
Mike, do you use easel to do your cut design?
I do.
Okay.
I looked at there's a feature where you can do drill holes on this
Mhm.
line, but it wouldn't. I wanted like the Texas shape to have all the holes around it, but it crapped out after about 50 holes or whatever. It's like, okay, I got 50 on this side, but then it just didn't follow the shape, and so I couldn't get that working in easel. Casey, what you got there? What's this?
This was my very first cut on my M2. I still keep it around and I hang it on the wall.
Oh, cool.
I showed it to my wife and she was like, no, it's not.
I like it.
Spoiled oil field wife, man.
I like it.
But yeah, I keep that around. I keep it hung on the wall. I've never painted it or nothing, but that was my very first M2 CNC cut 2.5 years ago. Yeah.
Okay. Was this your first experience with a CNC, Casey, or did you have one before?
No, I again remember what I do for a living, R&D engineer for big companies. So
okay.
I've used different CNCs all over the world, different languages, GRBL, I mean, you name it. But for my home, this is the first one I had personal, my own one for the house.
Okay.
Yeah. So this was my first personal CNC cut on the M2. Came out really, really well. I was really impressed. I mean, this was my first one. I used easel.
Yep.
I used easel exclusively. The SVG, I think, Matt, me and you have been going back and forth on where to find a Texas SVG.
Yep.
But yeah, that's what I did. I put it into easel and I had it trace the SVG, and then I just stuck in some words. And I want to paint it and hang it in the bathroom.
Quick question for the group, Casey, because we were talking about this. Was it last week? Something like this. Do you think? Because I see it all the time. How to get to SVG? How to get the file done? And interestingly enough, as much as we talk, Casey, I find we have two very different approaches to how we do our files. But for the most part, from what I see, they both produce very, very similar results. I kind of wanted to put something together. I don't know if you do it for your two tankids or not. I kind of wanted, I almost asked Pat, and I forgot about it, to see if, hey, for the next one, if we just jumped on and right off the bat, you showed a method and then I showed a method, or people showed their method of getting to cutting. I just see it a lot on the Facebook page. And I don't want to I hope they don't watch all of this, but some of them I watch and I'm like, that looks rough. And I know that 9 times out of 10, the reason why it looks rough is because they put garbage into the machine. It's not due to the machine.
Yeah.
And that's usually what I find is 9 times out of 10, when people are like, this machine sucks. I'm always that bad guy in the back that I'm like, no, I can't post that. I'm going to piss somebody off, but it's usually because they put something in wrong on the machine.
Yeah, I'm always grimacing when I see somebody say they bought an SVG somewhere and they just tried to cut straight from that. I'm like, ooh, it is not designed for cutting.
Well, I mean, my wife, she did it the other day. For her Cricut, she bought SVGs, went to cut them, and she was like, yeah, they're not that great. And I'm like, yeah. And I pull them, I import them into Inkscape, or somebody I would do Illustrator, and you'll immediately see all the flaws.
Mm-hmm.
You can see all the issues, but somebody out there is just saving SVGs and selling them at a premium. And
yeah, but see, there's two different thoughts to that too, right? So there's two different types of designs that I've learned over time. There's the designs that I do, highly technical, mechanical, dimensional designs, right? They have to be spot on whenever you're working with 2040 or 2080, that kind of stuff. Perfect hole dimensions for 5mm flat, screws, or cabinets with, you can do dovetails in cabinets. You can do dog bones. You can do knuckles. You can do anything with a CNC. So there's those types, and those are 3D flat files. They're designed dimensionally accurate in something like AutoCAD. You guys all know that I love Google SketchUp, and everything is very, very dimensional. And then there's the stuff like you and your lady make that are paw prints, right? And I had some folks that you'll see them on the Facebook page. They do the big giant letters all lit up. Paws. They do those. Those things, if the letter, letters that size, if they're off a 1/16 of an inch, nobody knows. You can't tell.
You're right.
Because the design is the way it is. It's a free-form shape. Nobody knows it's supposed to be a 1/16 of an inch in here or there. But if you're building cabinets and I put the cabinet sides together and they're 1/8 of an inch out, oh, hell yeah, I know it. It takes me 2 days of sanding to get the damn thing fixed. So there's two different ways to do that. The way you generate your STL, you download it, you upload it into whatever software you want. But that's what you have to look for. And I did a video in Facebook for that specific item with Google SketchUp, how to design it, export it from Google SketchUp as a 2D flat file with a specific view, upload it into easel, and then how to convert it in easel and then save as G code and ensure all the dimensions stay accurate. And I've used that method for Google for 2 years. It works every time. I don't have dimensional issues or anything. But Inkscape, man, I always have problems with it. I'm just not an Inkscape expert. Again, engineer, right? Go back to technical software, AutoCAD, SolidWorks, 3D, etc. So that's kind of my comfort zone. But that's what I have.
We all have different approaches. And when I started designing stuff before my printer to shit the bed, I really like Inkscape. What I found for me, interestingly enough, is Inkscape does not translate to my wife at all. Or not Inkscape, SketchUp doesn't translate to my wife at all. I may as well be talking Arabic to her. So like a lot of the stuff that I was doing in SketchUp, I was like, nope, I've got to find another way to translate these files and get her the files. And so she can take those Inkscape files and drop them into her software, which I've grown to just hate. I hate Cricut software, but it is what it is.
Talking about files like that. So I was helping a group on Facebook. I help a lot of people out here in Houston, in the Houston area. And I had a lady that needed help getting her M2 set up. And I told her, I said, yeah, come on over to the house. I gave her my address, said, come on over. Her and her husband were going to come over, and I was going to show them how I had my setup, show her the measurements, show them how to take the proper measurements for motor, etc. And Saturday rolled around and 7 o'clock rolled around. And I'm sitting in my garage, and AC going, waiting for them to show up. And this U-Haul truck shows up and they back it up into the drive. I'm like, what in the hell? So her husband, 2 cousins, and her uncle all jump out of the truck. And they go over and they open up the back of the U-Haul. They brought their frame, their sled, everything over to the house. And I was like, what in the, okay, if that's what you want to do. She was like, well, you said that we would look at the frame. She goes, I thought you wanted us to bring our frame. And I looked at her and I said, pause. I said, how much did that U-Haul cost? I was just going to show you my frame and we could walk through it. But they literally brought their entire frame over to the house and we calibrated it. I made all the guys take their own measurements, calibrate it, run it through. It was a whole day adventure, but yeah, you just never
I'll be
know.
honest, that is setting the standard for getting help.
Yeah, I probably helped, 20 some odd people in the Texas region here so far.
You know what? Like I've had a couple, there's not many, but I've had a couple in Georgia, and I'm like, look, if you want to come down, I'll walk you through the process. But no one's taken me up on the offer. I'm like, okay, maybe I just look creepy on Facebook. But
yeah, I always ask to come here. I won't travel to their location. I've had a couple of people down an hour or 2 hours away. Oh, we'll pay for gas. No, you come to my location. We'll walk through what your problems are, and ultimately ends up, hey, can we just do like a FaceTime video and we'll walk you through? And I said, yeah, that will work just fine. I can see what you're working on. I can help you fix that. But I know Patrick and them are wanting people to charge for that. And I think that just, for me, that just kind of defeats the purpose of the maker community. If I start charging everybody for my knowledge, right? That's kind of why we do this. We want to learn from each other. And if I start charging you for my thoughts, yeah, that would be kind of the wrong thing to do to me.
No, I'm with you there. Like, I'm just not like, when a community gives to me, I'm the same way. I appreciate it, want to give back. I mean, I know there's people out there that take advantage. So far in this community, I've not had that problem. So I'll take it. Yeah, it's disappointing to me to see how many people give up, because it's just like, you really don't. It's very rewarding to me. Like, it was rewarding to see how effective the machine can be. And I'm not even like, I took pride in dialing it in, but I'm not even taking the machine to its limits of accuracy. And really, I'm just the kind of guy that when I measure my piece and I see that it's off by 1/8 of an inch, I'm like, what did I do wrong? I just want to know what's going on. But I don't know. It'll be very cool to see where it goes. I'm excited. And
well, the frame design that I have here opens up a whole new future for the M2. That's just my 2 cents.
No.
Once you have a metal frame, you can do anything with it, right?
It feels its flaws. The only challenge that the machine faces at this point, beyond that, to really make it to the next level. I mean, there's always going to be challenges with the frame, in my opinion, that we just discussed. There's always going to be those things that, guess what? Weight, gravity, we're playing with physics. These are the physics of this machine, right? But the one that I think comes next is the developing a Z-axis that can be just like the depth guide, right? The very quick, accurate, plug a new bit in, drop your router in. How fast can I do these two and repeat the same exact depth?
So I don't want to talk too much about it, but there are a lot of changes in designs coming, improvements, and I've seen them. I love them. So, those people that hang in there and stick with it, a lot of that stuff you'll eventually see just go away, which is good, right?
That's the thing I'm looking forward to, is hopefully, if nobody else does it before me, is figuring out how to eliminate the sled so it's not sliding on the material anymore, because I use a lot of different material thicknesses, and I've discovered that when you go from 1.5 inches to 3 millimeters, that ring causes some problems, and you've got to change it all the time. So eliminating that problem so that the chains are always consistent is something I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, so you guys seen that. I tried that a while back, but the problem isn't doing it. I mean, it's a simple design. The problem is doing it affordable.
Right.
Yeah, so you look in my past post, you'll see where I was trying to use a tri-bearing design rolling on ODM tubing. So you would still use the chains and everything, kind of like, there's a guy that just posted a metal frame and he's still using the M2. I can guarantee you that frame that he has right there, I know I'm buying material now. I mean, that whole frame right there is about $1,500. Nobody is going to buy that. And that frame he has isn't even a 4x8 frame.
Right.
Nobody's going to spend $2,000 on a frame and then $1,000 on the M2. It's just not going to happen.
Something else I didn't bring up, Casey, that I ran into, was it last night? That I was going to ask, see if you ran. Now, obviously, I am pushing this machine around the clock. But the ring, the inside of that ring where it contacts the bearing, has y'all's paint worn off that ring?
Oh yeah, long time.
It
Well,
chips.
see, mine started wearing, but it hasn't worn evenly because I was like, why did I get these little blips? And I started realizing, because it rotates, it would bump. There's still some of the paint on the inside, and I think that's a design flaw. I think they should
No,
do
just
no
take
paint at all.
just take some sandpaper to the inside of your ring. That's what I did.
No, that's what I did, but I think it's a flaw to have it there in the first place.
Yeah, but the problem
Or at
is,
least
yeah, so if you think about it, it's a risk factor. They can paint the whole thing, or they can charge more to have a mask that area before they paint it, which will increase the cost of the M2.
Right.
But it's got to be painted before it comes in a crate coming over the ocean, because it would just rust in the salt water like crazy. So I think it's a catch-22. You don't want the paint on there, but you need to paint on there so when you get it, it's not a rust bucket. So
yeah, well, you actually, no, that's 100% the truth. I just think it's something that like was never mentioned, and I didn't notice it. It was just a couple of spots in the ring that still had paint on it, and it was
yeah, but
causing
nobody uses this system like you do, Lauren. I mean, you run this thing 24/7 around the clock. So these little things like this that you're realizing, they're things that nobody else will probably see for, if they bought their system a year ago, they won't see it for another year because they don't use it like you do.
Yeah.
So they won't have that wear on that ring. Those things are powder coated. Powder coat's pretty dang tough stuff. So if you're just now wearing that off after all that use, the normal person, that powder coat with their normal use on a weekend here, a weekend there, probably going to last them 6 or 7 years.
That's true.
Well, I should say I don't use it nearly as much as Lauren, and I've noticed it chipping off of mine when it runs around. So
Oh, it does. It's already started chipping.
yeah, I got mine in end of May, I believe, and I'm starting to see it.
Yeah,
It's
mine,
not anything.
mine started chipping. Mine started chipping. To be honest with you, I didn't see any major flaws in my cuts, but I noticed it when I went to grab the ring and lift it up. I felt kind of a sharp edge on the inside. I was like, what the heck? And I reached down and I seen the paint flaking. So I guess I didn't question it. I knew it would come off. I mean, that's a pinch point between the roller surface and a piece of metal. So I just grabbed a piece of sandpaper and went around in there and checked until it was shiny and good enough.
I haven't done that yet. I should probably do that, but yeah, I haven't worried about it. It's like I knew it was going to happen because that's where it contacts and it moves constantly around. So no big deal.
Yeah.
I'm curious how many people really dial in their machine, or what the average accuracy is across the community.
Well, that's something that I talk to a lot of people on. I mean, I'm not kidding you guys. My messaging, Facebook Messenger, it is blowed up all the time. People asking me questions, etc. And the reality is what accuracy do you need? If you're not building cabinets and spec material like I am, a millimeter is no big deal. The stuff that you're making, Lauren, if you're within 3 millimeters, I would think you'd be okay. Nobody can tell because it's not a perfect square. It's not right. It's not a symmetrical shape. So if you're making paw prints with little ovals and the little foot that goes around like that, if it's off a millimeter, nobody knows. Nobody can tell. No. So
I ran into, the reason why I'm bringing it up is because you're exactly right. For the most part, I didn't think it mattered. I was like, oh, I'm just being very peculiar. You know what I'm saying? I'm being that guy. Where I did find that it paid, the run into the challenge is the return point, right? So when you cut multiple files, because we don't have the luxury of an automatic bit changer or anything like that, or a depth gauge or any of that, running multiple files, if the machine doesn't return to the exact same starting point and know that, then it'll throw your cuts off when you're doing multiple cuts on the same piece.
So you just have to, what I do is whenever like I have a board, I place my work board up there on my spoil board. When I do that, whenever I move my system down, I always, again, I do the bottom left-hand corner of my workpiece. So I never get confused about, did I use center, top right, whatever. I go ahead and I lower my bit 1 millimeter into that wood. And I go ahead and put a spot. And I know that that's my 0. And whenever I go through all my cuts and I come back and I want to load the next file to do my second round of cuts, if it's off just a little bit, then I just bump it over and I lower it down until I get it back into that exact same hole. And then I rehome it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what I'm saying is like having a higher accuracy level of keeping it within a millimeter. I've not had those issues because it always returns to home almost to perfection.
Yeah.
Assuming it's
again, most people
area or 3x6 area in the center of the machine. Yes, it's been almost perfect.
Yeah, if you look on the Facebook page, a lot of things people cut out is like Christmas or yard art. Well, they only cut once. They don't, they might cut reindeer out on the same board, but again, it's not dimensionally required to be 1 millimeter accuracy. They don't do double cuts or 3 passes with 4 files, right? So I think there's only a few orders. I think there's only a few people out there that actually use it to that extent. And, so that's the reality, is you're kind of treading your own waters there.
Yeah. It's just a curiosity thing for me.
Yeah.
I'm very excited, talking with you last night, lasers, and I've got to get in that market because, and I got to try to figure out how to extend this ornament through the next year. Like, how do I continue this production? Because I have a feeling I'm gonna get to January, and I'm not gonna know what to do with myself. Because it's not like they're Christmas in July. So.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, you need to get you some interns.
Yeah. I actually had some soldiers come online and they were like, "Would you pay us if we helped you?" And I'm like, "I don't know if I'm making that much." My wife's already hiring me for free. So yeah, she's like, "I'm making a lot of money." I'm like, "Yeah, you are. At the expense of my time." I'm working 2 jobs, only getting paid for 1. But it's been a fun experience, and yeah, I don't know. The redneckery in my garage is kind of chaotic, but yeah. I will tell you, I have to get me a dust collection system. Before I move into a new shop, I have to. I've had so much. It doesn't matter what mask I wear, MDF. It feels like every night it's just like I'm digging for gold to clean myself up. Like, it's brutal. So that's coming in the very near future. You'll get a phone call. I was really hoping to have my 3D printer up so I could just pay you the file and I could just print it and install it. But
yeah, people don't realize I sell those files if you're gutsy enough to try it. But the reality is that thing is 56 hours of print time. Then you still have to buy all the material, the Lexan, the screws, the bolts, the PVC. You have to trim all of that, and it's a pain in the cracker to make. Trust me, I can make 2 of them. I can make 2 in an entire week. That's how long it takes me.
Yeah,
it takes me a week to make 2 of them printing side by side. So if you want to try to print one, have at it, but I've been doing these a long time, so I've got the process down. But I'm getting emails right now from people that bought them and they're trying to print them, and they're, it's flimsy. You didn't put enough thickness on the walls. You only had 2 layers. I print at a standard 6-layer thickness for wall thickness on my units. It's all on your 3D printer setup, and I got mine dialed in where I just click print and it just prints it.
Yeah. No, for sure. It goes back to the garbage in, garbage out.
That's right. That's right.
So it's, a real problem right now is I don't have a full dust collection system. It's really why I've been waiting, is like, I ain't got the room to have a full dust collection system in the garage with my wife's work area and mine. So I'd be getting the cart before the horse. kind of situation.
Well,
But
you got a vacuum. You got a vacuum cleaner, don't you?
I do, but it's used for multiple things. Like I use it for all kinds of stuff. Like I use it, like I don't have a compressor. I don't have room for a full size compressor to blow off or anything like for use it for that. So I use it as a blower and a sucker. But I'm really just thinking about investing in one of the small ones because a lot of the stuff I do is outside. So I'm really thinking that I just do a small one, use it exclusively for the CNCs alone, and not use it for the rest of them.
So for my first year, I just used a Craftsman vacuum cleaner, 5 horsepower wall vac, a standard shop vac. And I bought one of those
cyclone attachment.
Yeah, I bought one of those dust deputies online for, I think it was $80. And I just attached all of that and used that with my dust collection design. Man, it was highly effective. Highly effective. It was just as effective as the big one. But the downside is it fills up fast, right?
Yeah,
but
it does.
It was a nice, clean shop. I mean, I didn't have any problems. I had to remember that in between cuts to go over there, pop the top off the bucket and dump it out into a garbage bag, because one cut would easily fill that 5-gallon bucket.
See, I think I could get through. Well, maybe not. I have to test because that's what I've had at my Amazon cart, the full cyclone system to install on top of my vacuum, and maybe that's what I need to do. And just how soon could you get one of those? I know you're behind on orders.
Yeah, right now my last order, if I don't get any orders, which is not going to happen, they will keep rolling in. But right now, the last order I have is scheduled to ship January 10th.
Okay. Yeah, at this point, I was okay when it was a lower for just wearing a mask and just blowing the garage out. But now it's gotten so bad. My driveway, and believe it or not, is about an inch deep in sawdust right now. It's the craziest thing. My neighbors, I can tell they're like giving me the side eye because their their car is starting to look like they're getting covered in pollen. It's not pollen.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things like I've got to start. It was okay when op tempo wasn't like it is now. So I've got to do something.
Well, when you're ready, just let me know. I mean, I'll get it out as soon as I can. But I mean, I'm kind of backed up. If you do it now,
I'm ready now. If you want to, when you get a chance to build one, and you just tell me, and I'll shoot you the money.
So what I do is just the messenger. We usually go back and forth.
Oh, just shoot you a messenger. Okay.
Yeah, just send me your PayPal email, and I send a click to pay invoice. And when you pay it, then my wife goes out and puts it in the computer on the wall over here and schedule. So then that's your spot in line. Anybody that comes in after that, they're after you.
Okay.
It's kind of first come, first serve, right? That's the way I've been doing it.
That's absolutely fair. It's absolutely fair. I was actually going to see, I don't want to get off topic. I know everybody's kind of hanging out. If you had some time just coming up next few days, I don't know what your schedule looks like. Just to kind of chat about some other things. I know we've been texting a lot. Yeah, I realize you're getting unpaid consulting time. But
don't worry about it. If any time, just ping on Messenger. That's normally what I do. And on Messenger, we can do video, or we can just ping back and forth, or just do a call. It's no big deal. Just whenever you're ready, just give me a holler.
Yeah, I'm excited to build my new one.
I'm sorry, what was that, Bob?
I'm trying to find you on the MakerMade 2. What's your last name so that way I can find you on Messenger?
Connolly, Connolly.
Okay, thanks.
If you go into the Facebook page and you right click any of the, I reply to a ton of posts today. If you just go into any of those, you right click and it'll say message, and then you just click on it.
Oh, okay. Cool.
That'll find me. I'm in Messenger. So That's how it works. I know, Bob, you were asking about a dust collection too. So
Yeah.
that's how I do it is PayPal. You just send me what you want. I need to know your router size. Are you using the larger 91 millimeter or the 71 millimeter? Because that is different.
I have no clue. It's the Bosch one that shipped with it.
Well, there's two. You got the Bosch Pony or Colt. That's
Colt,
a 71. And then you got the Bosch 1617, which is the one I used. That's a larger 2.25 horsepower, and it takes the 91 millimeter.
Yeah, no, mine's a Colt.
It's the smaller one with the little black rubber handle on it.
Yep.
That's the 71 millimeter. Yeah.
Good.
Yep.
So is there any benefit to using the big, because I have 5 routers laying around my house, they're all the bigger, like old Porter cables or whatever, they're the 91s. Is there any benefit to using them over the 1.5 horsepower or the 1 horsepower?
Yeah, there is. Simply speed. So you're stuck at, what Lauren was saying. He's stuck at like 30 inches per minute to 35 inches per minute, right? But remember, there's another way you can gain speed, and that's depth per pass. So if you're doing, let's say you're doing a 1/2 inch, keep it simple. If you're doing 1/2 inch plywood, you're cutting that, and you're using a 1/8 inch bit. You have to do at 1/2 inch, you have to do half of a 1/8 inch bit, 0.125 depth per pass. So that'll take you 10, 12 passes. It's got to go around to cut through that 1/2 inch plywood. If I'm using a 2.25 horsepower, I can use a 1/2 inch bit. That means I can cut at a 1/4 inch depth per pass. So it would take me 2 passes to get through 1/2 inch plywood at the same speed. So there's a big advantage to going bigger, but there's also a disadvantage. The bigger bit, of course, you can't get the detail like the stuff Lauren's working on. He works on things with little tight corners, home decor stuff. Well, you got a big old 1/2 inch bit. It's not going to make those nice tight corners.
Right.
So
and then money.
Yeah, me. I'm building cabinets, so it's big boxes, right? I mean, simple shapes. So man, I can blow through 3/4 inch. I can build a cabinet, in just very short time frame.
Right, but if I were to use the 91, I can still use the bigger motor with the smaller bit and still get the same. So in other words, it's more functionality with the bigger, and it's just a matter of getting the different mount.
Yeah, you have more of a bit range with the larger ones. I always tell people that if you're brand new to CNC, stick with the 71, even the Colt, right? You got to learn. When you start moving to that 2.25 horsepower, that's when you're ready to go to the next level, because now you've introduced larger bits, faster running speeds, less accuracy on tight corners. You got to know when you can use it and when you can't. So, I think the 2.25 is not just an upgrade. It's also a learning curve. It's like your next level to CNC.
So there's a couple of things that I would add to that. 1/2 inch bits are expensive. You're gonna spend 3 times the amount. They can really mill the wood though. Man, they can mill. The second thing, when choosing a router, the smaller routers are a lot cheaper, but the collets are not as good. Now, with that in mind, if you're first starting, don't get a high-end router. Get one that if you break it, you break it. Learn on the cheap ones. So go to Harbor Freight, get something that's not going to break the budget when you damage it or you do something, because the bigger routers, boy, they don't stop just because you make a mistake. They're going to chew through whatever you put them through. So my big Bosch, I've put some big milling bits on that bad boy, and it's like doing stupid things. I'll be honest. I'll be the first one to say it was stupid, and it didn't even try to stop. I will eat through whatever you throw at me. But that's where a lot of people aren't a fan of Rigid. Look, Rigid ain't the best product out there, but that router they sell, It's got a lifetime warranty, and you can beat the shit out of it. Now, with that in mind, the bigger routers also have another advantage. Like Bosch is a very good router maker. I'm a big fan of Bosch. Is the fact that you can buy custom collets for it specifically for CNC milling. So you can get custom size. We all talk an 1/8 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch. What about 3/8 inch? What about the 5/8 inch? What about specific 7mm bits? There's so many unique bits out there that can do a lot of really cool things. And you can go, Bosch doesn't sell it directly, but there are specific collets you can buy for Bosch that fit to perfection with like 0.00001 run out. Like very cool things. So it's kind of one of those things, like my advice, grain of salt, is use something cheap, learn something, and plan to budget for a bigger one later, like the big Bosch or a big Makita, because they really do have things.
Let me add these two variables. And first of all, like I said, the reason I'm even contemplating going in with the bigger router is because I have several on hand. So it's a what's available. However, what I'm also trying to avoid is I am brand new to this. Like you said, I know for a fact, like, my table saw is a 3-phase, 220, blah, 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 blah. And I would not have used that when I first started out, because it would have been a recipe for me cutting off a limb. So how much trouble am I going to get into using the more horsepower to start with? Am I actually saving anything? Yeah.
If you have a good understanding of feeds and speeds, so you've clearly had a few routers, you've played with them, so you know what happens when you abuse it, right? You don't follow the rules of routers. I don't know if that's the proper term, but yeah, then you're probably not too much. The big thing you run into right now is and this is why I went with the rigid first, is I was like, look, if I break it because I do something wrong with the machine, because now it's not human error that says, oh, I'm making a mistake, I can pull off, I can feel something going wrong with the machine, I'm pulling away from it. No. This machine is going to keep moving whether you want it to stop or not. And usually it takes a good close to 5 seconds to get the machine to come to a complete stop. And in 5 seconds, a router can jack. I mean, look on the Facebook page. The mistakes people pay to not paying attention to their machine is brutal.
Yeah, that Raspberry Pi stuff, man, that's just a recipe for disaster. Anybody that asks me, hey, I'm trying to hook this, and they say they're doing Raspberry Pi, I am very blunt and straightforward. I'm like, nope, I'm not going to help you. You do it. If you want to do it, that's up to you. But if you want to run a CNC at 25,000 RPM in your garage and you go inside and eat a sandwich, shame on you. When you come out and the boards are broken and the chain snapped and your ring is snapped, you know what? That's your fault. It's that simple.
Yeah, and so that's what I'm trying to avoid. Yeah.
So with that in mind, that's where I tell people, like, I don't know.
See, the problem I have with what you just said is that, yeah, I've used a router, I have a router tables, I've router, but it's a feel thing. Like I could tell when I'm feeding too fast or too slow, whereas, it's all trial and error. Like, okay, like you said, you set it up and you put it at 35, inches per minute or whatever the hell the number was. And then, once you get up to 41, that's where the problem is. But until I actually do that.
Yeah. So hold on. First of all, there's some general rules. There's some general rules you could follow, right? With depth and speed. You start with those, and then you'll eventually get to the point where you want to speed up a little bit or you want to do this. And that's where you start learning your own groove. But when you first start out, depth per pass is half the diameter of whatever bit you're using. That's simple, right? And I always tell people, when you first start out at about 20 inches per minute. It's slower, I get that, but you get used to watching how the sled moves, watching whenever it rotates, you get to see how it acts, right? You get used to the sled and the rotation, and then pretty soon you'll be like Lauren, you know what, 20 inches per minute? I'm bumping it up 25 this time. No, we're going 30.
This one goes to 11, yeah.
Yeah. And you'll find that the different speeds are also based on the type of bit you're using. So if you're using a small 1/8" bit and you're doing a really hard wood, I sure as hell wouldn't try running 40 inches per minute. You'll snap the bit. If you're running a 1/4" bit, you'd be running 30 inches per minute on really hard wood. That's probably pushing it, but it can probably be done. A 1/2" bit, 40 inches per minute at 2,000 or 2,500 or 25,000 RPM. It'll chew through that wood like there's no tomorrow. And it'll also chew right through your frame if you don't keep an eye on it.
That is the truth.
So it's all things that you learn, but start with the basics. And if you want, start with a 71mm router, anything, the DeWalt, the Colt, I think Makita has one out there. And it really depends on what router clamp you got. Did you ask for a 71mm? Those aren't standard. They will sell you one if you would have asked for it when you bought it. Otherwise, the standard that comes in it is a 71mm.
Right. And that's
And for me, that's why I designed that dust collection. Is I don't want to leave the shop while this thing is running, but at the same time, you look like you've done a lot of woodworking and stuff. I sure as hell don't want to be breathing that wood dust.
Yeah.
So I designed that. So now it's actually to the point I can sit in my shop with an open drink, a cup with ice in it, tea, whatever, right? I can sit in there and drink and I get no dust in my cup. I have no problems. It's a very clean system. So you just gotta, it's all on your experience. You'll learn.
Yeah, see, that's why I'm actually listening at this point, is because I'm trying to, I've been down this road a million times in my life with different things. If I could take advantage of the mistakes you guys have made to not make them myself first. I think that might answer Lauren's question from earlier, where he was saying, why do people buy these things and then all of a sudden turn around 6 months later and sell them? I think that's it. They don't want to, they're too lazy to go through the learning curve. They want the shortcut.
Yeah. What routers do you have, Don?
I've got several. I've got 3 router tables. One's running a Triton. 2 of them are regular Porter cable 690s. I've got a couple of trim routers. I actually have a Porter cable trim router that I was thinking that I would try and throw in here to start with, but it's not. It's like it's somewhere between the 91 and this, or the whatever they are, 91 and 71. I guess they are.
Yeah, your trim routers are usually less than 71mm.
Yeah.
Well, trim routers are usually around in between 50 to 65mm. I'm like you. I got probably 10 freaking routers.
Well, this Porter cable I have, it looks like it's about 71, but it doesn't. I can't get it in. It's just a little bit too big to get into the 71. Call it. It just.
I think if I was going to get a new router today, now they're not too expensive. I would get that one. We talked about it in one of the meetings before. What is it? Skill. The new Skill router.
Oh, yeah.
With the variable speed, electronic variable speed. That one looks very interesting to run with. Right now I'm running a Bosch and a Rigid, so it depends on what I'm running. The Rigid's hey, if I break it, they're going to send me a new one. The Bosch is, hey, I need some power. Let's get this done.
Yeah, I have an old Ryobi that's that's like when you're golfing, you have that one club in there that you only use in the rough, and you don't care what happens to it. That's my Ryobi. So and that's the other thing, is it's finding one of the 91s or something to that effect. Like you can grab Craigslist or whatever and find 2 idiots that went out and bought them for Christmas and never used them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But then the other side is again, you can always get. I love the Facebook forum. If you know people like Lauren and me, you can also just message us, through there. Hey, I got a quick question. We'll answer as soon as we get to it or we see it. But there's always a lot of resources to go out and ask questions too. That's what I love about the forum.
Yeah. Well, that was one of the deciding factors on how I decided to pull the trigger in the first place. I'm a motorcycle guy, and I've been on some forums with the guys that ride the same bikes as me, and that's always the best way to get answers, because it's not somebody that's sitting back at a desk going, yeah, that might work. It's like, no, I got this guy that actually did it and he didn't die.
Yeah.
I'm all about the not dying thing.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I think you got the experience. I think you'll be fine, whatever you do. I started at 15 inches per minute and just kept slowly climbing. And now, like, I'm a guy that's like, rules are there for a reason, but I also like to bend them. So I'm running 1/8 inch bits at just over an 1/8 inch pass, right? That goes completely against the rules. But I tested it carefully and it works very well. But at the same time, I'm also running bits that cost me $3 to $5 a piece.
Yeah, Lauren likes to live life in the fast lane.
Yeah, got to run it.
Well,
To be
Well,
fair,
I think that came from Lauren sitting there at 2:00 in the morning watching the router going, I need sleep.
yeah,
Then he was like,
Yeah.
screw it, I'm doing 40 inches a
And,
minute.
and then he tries to shut down and go in the house, and the wife cracks the whip and sends him back out.
Yeah, exactly.
you joke, Don. You joke, Don, but it's the truth. Because last night I fell asleep on the couch and she was like, "Hey, I need these cut," and I woke back up at 10:30 and went back out the garage and cut them.
Did you
So
wake up to like a bucket of cold water?
No, she just was like, "Are you going to go back to the garage or not?" That was her words. "Are you going back out there or no?" And I was like, "I guess I'll get up and go back out there."
Just think retirement, man. Just think retirement.
Yeah.
I
I'm
don't
telling
think
her, she
I
better
don't
be
think
my
I-
sugar mama into this.
I don't think I can get away with retiring my wife.
Yeah. Also, hey, if you're gonna test, like you're trying to feel for it, don't go really expensive stuff. I did that too. Don't go buy expensive bits. I've literally got some in cases that I refuse to use because I only use them for special projects or special woods. And then don't, for whatever you do not waste your money on high-end spiral bits on MDF. Do not do that. It makes no difference. Use cheap bits on MDF. You're cutting sandpaper. It's going to wear them down quick. And
If
if
you
you go
can
on
get
Amazon,
away, if you can get away with never cutting MDF, I don't use it unless I absolutely have to. That crap is full of carcinogens. It's full of, it's like 90% epoxy with some wood dust thrown in. And when I see people on the forums showing off their projects and there's crap all over the place, they're showing this nice project. And I'm thinking, you sat there for probably 4.5 hours breathing that dust in. Let me know in 20 years when, your lungs are blown out, how you thought that project looked.
I saw your OSB project there, your Texas, and I thought that was kind of a gutsy maneuver to use for your first, it's cheaper, but I don't know if I'd really want to be cutting through that either.
I mean, even for me, I've got 4 fans blowing the dust out of the garage at any time, and I'm standing behind them watching the machine, and I've got a mask on at the same time, and I still it can be brutal. The only reason why we're using MDF is because it's so cheap compared to the other woods right now.
So I hate sawdust so bad. I'm so afraid of what it'll do to my lungs, and not only that, my ears, my nose. I get sinus infections and stuff. That whenever I first got this CNC, I used it for probably a year. I designed the dust collection system. I had plans to remodel my shop, put in HVAC, insulate the walls, the ceiling, the whole 9 yards. And I refused to do that until I got the dust collection system designed. Now you can see all my walls, especially like the wall where I'm doing, everything here. I got everything. It's all insulated, HVAC. I sit in a nice environmentally controlled area now, but I wouldn't do that until I got that done. I was not going to sit in the shop and breathe that dust. No way. And that's actually kind of why I didn't even plan on selling the dust collection systems. I think it started with somebody on Facebook seeing a design I had cut and was in process of cutting. And they were like, "What is that thing on your sled?" And I, dust collector, that's it. That's it. It just started going from there. So you just never know, right? You just never know. But safety first, man. Same with your bit size, your speed, everything. It's just a piece of wood. Who cares? It's not worth that much. Just work with it. See what you can get. Don't be afraid. Hell, I've broken a lot of bits. It happens. It happens. Hey, folks, I got to get going. I got my mailbox is starting to back up here.
Yeah, I'm working as we go. I'm just excited I made it a call. But no, I'll hit you up later, Casey. I know you're a busy, man.
All
When
right.
this machine arrives, yeah, I didn't get the exact same one, obviously, as you. I do have a story about that. I got a killer deal. I don't think, I basically got 40% off open builds.
Wow.
Yeah.
What?
They did the
Wow.
discount one. It was supposed to be
Oh,
$300 off
military.
the bundle. No, it was Black Friday, $300 off the bundle. Well, I just didn't do the bundle. I just bought the basic machine and parted it out, and it was 40% off.
Ooh, wow.
I got the whole
all
thing
those
for $2,000.
parts at all those
Yeah,
parts
I got
at
the
discount.
whole, like the max build for $2,000.
Huh. Okay.
And they
well,
sold it.
That's still more pricey than what I paid though.
Yeah, but that's with shipping and everything. And that's with everything.
Mine was with shipping and everything.
What did you get yours for?
It's less than $2,000 with shipping and buying the open build black box.
Well, see, I bought it. Did you get you got your depth gauge too?
My desk gauge. What do you mean?
Your depth gauge.
Oh, the Z-axis plate?
Yeah.
Yeah. I got that with whenever I bought the open builds black box.
Well, they probably upped the price. They probably upped the price to make it look like you were getting a good price.
No, the difference is, Lauren, if you bought yours from open builds, you don't have linear bearings. You got linear rollers.
No, I do. I'm actually, they have an upgrade kit that I'm working to get.
Open builds does?
Yeah, they are. It's already showing you can get the linear, you can get an upgrade kit. So I'm going to get that and extend it to 8 foot. But the one thing that I liked about it is that Z-axis on open builds is better. The frame across the middle is much beefier than the ones. But either way, when we talked about it, I went back and forth a lot. Like literally, I spent probably 6 hours, and I was like, I can deal with it short term. But no, I also ended up buying it came with the full spindle system with all the collets and everything.
So you got a spindle with the VFD drive and all of that.
Yeah.
Oh, so I don't have that. So that's probably for me.
Like
I've got one that I want, and it's about another $320. But it's water cooled, the whole 9 yards.
Well, this one's air cooled. It's not the water cooled one.
Yeah, see, I wanted the water cooled because the air cooled is going to be just as loud as my regular router. I want a water cooled. So not only do I want to sit in here with a cold drink, I want to sit in here with a cold drink and watch TV.
Yeah, well, I'm already running headphones, and I'm also my dust collection's too loud. So
I got big demands, man. I got big demands. You guys always see me. I'm watching Star Trek and shit in the background. Yeah, I wanna eat popcorn, have a cold drink, and watch Star Trek while my CNC is going.
Yeah. Nah, so it'll be, I don't know. I'll definitely be hitting you up here real soon. Like I said, it finally shipped. I actually got frustrated when you talk about customer service. I sent them a message. I was like, hey, it's been 5 days. Y'all said it was shipped within 48 hours. And sure enough, they turned it. They was like, we apologize. It's going out tomorrow. And I was already getting irritated because I was like, I spent $80 in shipping, $90 in shipping this thing. And it's coming from Florida to Georgia. I was like, come on now. Like I could have drove down there and picked it up by now. But
yeah, I ordered my top beam for this new frame. That one piece, I ordered that from Open Builds, and it said in stock, available, blah, blah, blah. And I checked yesterday. I ordered that on the 1st. I checked yesterday, still says awaiting fulfillment.
No, you got to send
I sent them a nasty gram and said, hey, what the hell? Right? And they said, oh, well, you have to read the fine print under the product description. It says that these parts will not be shipping until the 15th. So I went back to the product description, sure shit, that tall, right underneath all the advertisement crap, there's a little star that says product will not ship until the 15th. And I thought, I hate Open Builds. I really do. I love their drivers and their system. Not their CNCs. I like their black box controllers and all of that.
Yeah.
But them as a business, no, I'm not.
No, I was gonna go with a Bulkman, but that I was gonna have to wait 60 days at a minimum and still spend. They were showing
why 60 days.
It showed it wouldn't arrive till February.
then you had the wrong
That was
shipping
it.
in there. It took me 10 days and I didn't do fast shipping.
No, it showed February, and that was at almost $800 in shipping.
What?
From
Maybe it was the type of shipping. I don't know. If you had said something, I would have handed you over to Libby. She's my contact over there in Bulkman. She probably could have hooked you up.
because that's why I haven't purchased anything from them, because the shipping was crazy. And that's why I waited this long, because I was like, it's got to spend so much. And then the Black Friday hit, and I gypped the system, and I was like, okay, I can deal with that, because it cut $1,000 off the price.
Yeah, but even at $1,000 off of their price, it's still more expensive than Bulkman. So I paid $770 for my 4x4 with linear bearings, whole 9 yards. I spent $770 for that, and then I ended up spending $409 for shipping. I contacted Bulkman. They told me how to do it lower cost. So I contacted Libby. I went back and forth with her. She showed me how to do it a little lower cost. So I did that. So I ended up spending $409. And then whenever it all came in, I ordered my black box controller, all the cables, limit switch, everything else. And that was $338 that was $338 for that whole kit. So I got everything for less than $1,500.
Even with shipping?
With shipping, yeah.
That's a steal.
Yeah, I told you. And that was no on sale crap. That was just regular. But now, having said that, I went through and had to spend $400 on wood for a new table. And then you guys seen my new slide out table. I had to get all fancy with that good shit. But I mean, that was all my choice. But yeah, I mean,
you guys do that with any machine. You'll do that with any machine.
Yeah, I know. I always do.
That's a variable that's always going to be there, and I'm going to face the same thing. Yeah.
Well, I'll send you my plans. I'll send you my plans for my table if you liked what I had. That with the drawers underneath, it was a little bit higher, and then I still have 4x4 storage underneath for plywood. I can send those. It's all in SketchUp drawings with dimensionals.
Yeah, I'll end up hitting you up, because I'll end up taking them probably, especially you can send them in SketchUp, and I'll adjust them because I got a little bit less room in my garage. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm excited. I got a decent deal. The only challenge I faced is that when I priced it out at Bulkman, I was looking at essentially with everything, buying the mechanical kit and buying the components from Open Builds, or the electronics from Open Builds. I was still sitting at about $1,500. But that was before shipping. The shipping was just brutal. And so I was
I know that Bulkman has 3 different options for shipping. And one of those options on there doesn't seem
$600.
Yes, one of those options on there is one that you would go, what? Why would I can't do that, right? That's the one they told me to use. And then they ship an invoice, and then I have to click to pay the invoice, and it eliminates any VAT taxes coming in. And their shipping is shipped by China Air, which is half the cost of FedEx and everything else. But when it reaches the US here, then it gets transported by FedEx ground.
That's why then.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying I wish you would have said something, because I could have told you exactly what to click on, and it would have saved you a bundle. You would have got the exact same setup I got here for around $1,500 with all the bells and whistles.
Yeah. Because
you wouldn't have got the spindle.
Well, I have a router. The spindle was just like, it was like, well, I guess I'll take that bonus, because it rang in at close to $300 with everything that's air, but it comes with all the collets, all the setup. So I was like, oh, I guess I'll take that bonus. But yeah, I mean, that still would have been $200 over what you spent.
Yeah. Yeah. And if I would have put the reason why I didn't buy the spindle from Bulkman was because it drastically increased the shipping cost because of the heavy motor and everything else on there. So I thought, you know what? I'll just buy it local US. You can get on any website and you can find all kinds of spindle setups and kits, and Everything else, I think the Mac Daddy, like I said, with the water pump, the lines, the VFD drive, a full 2 horsepower spindle, water cooled, the whole 9 yards. Right now I have prices set ready to go at $320. That includes free shipping.
Yeah, I'm gonna need to get your contact because I need to order expanded aluminum and the kit that they have, the upgrade kit with the linear bearings. So they don't even call it a Queen Bee from Open Builds. It's a lead 1550, but it's the exact same kit, like down to but the upgrade kit is what really, they won't say it, but it is the same upgrade kit because you can get one very similar that changes the Workman to the Queen Bee Pro.
The Work Bee to the Queen Bee.
Yes, the Work Bee, yes. And so that's what I'm doing. As I'm getting the upgrade when I extend it to 4 foot by 8 foot. Is now obviously I won't be able to do it for some time because I don't have the space for a 4 foot by 8 foot. But when I'm ready to do that, that's what I'm going to do. And if they could do it cheaper from Bulkman without that crazy shipping cost, because that's really what killed it, was I had it all in the cart ready to hit purchase, and the shipping cost came up and I literally almost shit a brick. Like I was like, what in the hell?
Yeah, the first time I added everything to cart, it was almost $1,500 shipping and the mechanical kit with nothing added, right? And I was like, are you kidding me?
Well,
I just decided to reach out to him, and this lady named Libby, you know how all Chinese have American names. She emailed me back that evening. It was really quick. She emailed me back and said, oh, there's ways to reduce the shipping cost. She goes, let us give you a discount. And she sent me back a discount, and it was this much. And I said, you knocked like $100 off the shipping. I need more than that. I go, it's not worth buying from overseas. And she goes, well, what type of shipping? Then that's when we went back and forth. And now I know. So like the mini mill that I'm going to buy, that bad boy, I know exactly how to do the shipping. And the mini mill is like $420, and total shipping is $290.
So that ain't too bad. I can live with that. That is.
Yep. I still got to buy the controller. I still got to buy the Open Builds, but.
No, that was the thing, is when I first put it in the cart and I got all excited because you showed me, and I was like, nah, this man knows what he's talking about. And I went to town and I was like, I'm ready to spin. And I saw that shipping and I was like, he may know what he's talking about, but I am not ready for this.
Yeah, the same mini mill in Open Builds, it's over $2,500.
Right.
They're selling it on Bulkman for $400. And even with, let's say you didn't click the right button on shipping and it was $400, you're spending $800 for that thing, plus another $300. You're still less than $1,000, where Open Builds is selling the thing for $2,000 plus shipping.
Right. Well, see, that was the thing. The only, I ain't gonna lie to you, Casey. I was like, I guess I won't get this new machine for at least another year, because I was like, I'll just order it next year and order it in time, and just have to deal with the 60-day shipping, because the combination was brutal. I should have reached out to you and said, how'd you do it? Because I just assumed you waited. Because even the higher one that was like $1,000 shipping was still a 30-day wait time.
No, the wait time is based on how it's shipped. That's what takes so long. So the way they shipped it to me, it still went through. It did not go through, what do they call it? All the little import-export inspection. You know what I'm talking about? Because of the way they told me, there's 3 options. One of them is invoicing. And most people look at that and you're like, I'm not a business. I need to pay by PayPal or credit card. And if you pay by invoice, then they list it as a business purchase. Totally different rules. Yeah, no shit. And I asked her, I said, I can't invoice you. It's not like I have QuickBooks or something like, and she goes, no, what we do is, she goes, we will create a business invoice and we will send it to you. You click on the invoice and it takes you to a website to complete your purchase. So I did that, and I used PayPal to pay the invoice, and the turnaround time, everything showed up at my house in 10 days.
Yeah, at this point, that's what it's going to take for this one to come in is 10 days.
Yep. But what I paid, right? Now, here's the downside to that. Again, it was China. And I seen in there where they said your product has now shipped. I heard nothing else over that time frame. And the whole time, right, I'm out, right at $1,000, right at $1,100, and I'm hearing nothing from China. And I'm like, holy shit, 10 working days. That's 2 weeks. After the first week, I'm getting a little nervous. Where's my shit? I'm sure it's off over in Puerto Rico somewhere, and some guy's having fun in his shop with it. I'm like, holy cow. And just one day, boom, it all showed up. That was it.
That's interesting because, yeah.
So they don't have excellent customer service. But when I did install mine, I had a bad MGN linear bearing. When I lubed it all up and I installed it and I started running it back and forth, I could hear it going, ring, ring, ring. So I went back to my email, and I emailed Libby. 10 days later, she sent me a whole new set, 4 bearings for free.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna need this contact because I'm really enjoying expanded aluminum, the little bits I have. And man, to really, if I could build all of my machines with it, I would. And that's
the problem is you want to build expanded aluminum out of this, like the frame and everything that I'm doing here. You won't get near that because the cost is so low, they won't give you any discounts, and they won't help you with the shipping. I tried.
Oh, dang.
You might buy all the material and it cost you less than $100, but they turn around and they charge $500 for shipping.
Because that's what I need. I need to expand aluminum. That's why I was asking earlier. That's what I need. I'm okay with building things with wood, but it's just some of the more technical stuff as I get ready to do multiple moves. And expanded aluminum comes together and goes back together so much better than wood does.
So this frame right here, I bought everything here from a U.S. supplier, except for one part, and that was that Open Builds part that's taken 3 freaking weeks to get. So but everything else here, I bought from my compadres here at Ziltech, but they won't give you any discount on expanded aluminum simply because it's very hard to get right now.
Yeah. I mean,
anything expanded aluminum, unless you're buying it from China, you're not getting jack. You're not getting nothing.
That's interesting.
Yep. And Ziltech, I know the guy. I know Scott and them. I know him personally. Their business is, 15 minutes from my house over here. The guy that has the printers I was telling you about. Yeah, I know him. I can drive over there and pick it up. I save 0 shipping. Yeah, it's not cheap. It's pricey. So all of this R&D I did on this frame is all out of my pocket.
How much does that thing cost you?
Just the materials so it's, how do I say it? It's resale. So I'm paying the markup on everybody, right? So the whole resale on this thing is pushing 400. We buy this stuff from China. It may take me 4 months to get the material, but the price would be a fraction. So it's all on time money.
Man.
Yeah, this, like I said, all this R&D I do is out of my pocket, and I'm hoping to make that back with MakerMade once we start selling them out the door.
That hurt my heart a little bit.
It won't be. You heard Patrick. He said they're trying to keep the frame, complete assembly of the entire frame and everything for less than $4. That's his target price on it. But of course, it cost me more than that to build this because I bought it at regular market value from a local supplier.
Yeah,
so there's no volume pricing
by massive amounts. But
what was that?
They would end up buying a massive amount of bulk from Bulkman. Yeah,
that's what they do.
Yeah.
They buy shipping containers full of crap. That's what Patrick and them do.
Yeah.
Any business does that. They buy full Connex containers full of material. So,
I mean, even as it is now, and I got to go in just a second, like we're already looking in the future, like that's how we're going to end up buying containers and shipping lumber that way, like storing it that way, tons of it, because I'm going through, like, we actually went to a distributor here. That's how I get all my stuff cheaper, as we have a distributor here in Savannah that sells like a sheet of plywood right now for $30. That's 3/4 inch. Like, that's dirt cheap. You can't get it anywhere else. But I had to go in and shake the dude's hand. Yeah, I had to go in and shake the dude's hand and be like, hey, this is what I'm doing. I'm starting a small business. And he's like, we only sell about a pallet, but I like you. We'll take care of you. Come in and tell me what you need, and we'll make it. We'll slide it off the cut pallets in the back. And I mean, it was just, man.
Well, that's what I was saying with that 3D printer. If you want it, I will send you a PayPal invoice. You pay for it, and I'll go to Ziltech, and he's going to give me a huge discount to use one of his used units, and he'll go in and put new motherboards. And he goes, yeah, I'll put the BL Touch on, and I'll upgrade to the linear bearings. I'll do all of that for you. I said,
how soon can you give me one of those?
Oh, I'd have to call him. Yeah, I could email him today and ask him what it would take to get one of the used units turned around and what his price would be. And then I could just let you know what that price is going to be.
If you don't mind, I need one, because there's so many things I want to build. And I mean, I have the experience, like I'm all self-taught, but I'm good enough to design most things. But I don't have a 3D printer to develop them. So that's what I need to be able to print them and test them. Because I was looking at your laser setup, and that was my thing. Is my wife's like, she signed off on the CNC because she knew it'd make me happy, but the deal was I gotta attach the laser as soon as possible. So
yeah, you know what? My wife signed off on all this. I still haven't gotten around to what she wanted. So when I went to buy the mini mill, she goes, She goes, you got way too much stuff. She goes, you have literally started a side business with this. She goes, you're not getting anything until I get my new kitchen cabinets. That was 2.5 years ago. I was like, you know what, babe, you're right. I really probably should get around to that.
Yeah. Well, my wife started feeling pretty bad when she realized, she was like, yeah, this month I've made, she's made quite a salary this month. And I'm like, and none of it's coming to me. So I was like, you gotta at least pay me in a CNC machine. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You know what? Reach out. Have you reached out to Patrick and said, hey man, you want to do that? You want me to do that video for you? They're looking for marketing. Tell him, hey, for that video, shoot me one of your 300Xs. You want me to host a session for you? Seriously. I would tell him that.
See, I've not done it. I've never been a this for that kind of guy with them, but I probably should.
Well, you're not being a dick. You're just asking for proper payment. I mean, they're going to use what you're doing to sell their product. They're saying, hey, here's a guy with a successful business. He's pushing this to the limits. And there's going to be people asking the questions. You're going to go through and do that. You're just saying, hey, you know what? For my efforts on this, I really need a good 3D printer. Shoot me one of the 300Xs and we'll call it good.
Yeah.
And that's it. They started asking me to do videos. And that's when I said, yeah, sure. But what's in it for me? And Patrick had no problem. He goes, hey, yeah, what do you want? What do you need? So I told him.
Yeah. That's a good point.
They actually have it set up in the background to where they can ship to you at zero price. Their marketing, their everything.
How good is their printer? How good is their printer?
Their printer? It's okay. Like they said earlier, they have a new firmware coming out now. They're asking me to test it. The only major thing I had to do was, besides it being damaged when it showed up, it was damaged when I got it. Somebody had dropped something on it. I don't know. I had to fix some stuff. But I ended up taking one of my print beds from the Creality, $19. You can get them on eBay or on Amazon. I put one of those on there. Their print bed sucks, the magnetic build plate. It is horrible. Nothing sticks to it. But this Creality one, man, here it is. Here, check this out. Watch this. I'm trying to zoom in. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
That night, it sticks really good. You actually have to peel it off.
That's nice.
Yeah, and look how smooth it is. I don't know if you guys can see that. So it took me a while to get it dialed in and everything. But this piece right here is actually for that frame. It's going to bolt onto the top. And remember that cord I was telling you that would lift up the legs for you? It's going to come up, and then you just wrap the cord around this and let it hang. That's how it's for storage on it. But I mean, it prints nice for me now. It prints really nice. It just took me a while to get everything fixed. And then I found out all the issues that they had with it. And I submitted that probably 5 months ago to MakerMade. And yeah, they went through and they listened. They're fixing everything. They have a new firmware coming out, and hopefully it'll be just as good as a Creality.
Okay.
We'll see.
Yeah, either way, if you don't, I don't know. I really want a 3D printer that actually runs.
Well, the problem is it's not super intuitive, but it's a decent printer. It's just, I'm not sure if I have mixed feelings whether it's something you want to learn on. My Creality is plug and play, right? But then the Ziltech isn't plug and play either, but you can get it way cheaper. So I don't want to undersell the MakerMade, but it's not until they get that firmware in there and everything's fixed. It's not, if you're new to 3D printing, it may be a little daunting, but I mean, you're a maker. You could probably figure it out.
No, for the most part, I'm just intelligent enough to get myself in trouble. And yeah.
Yep.
I really just need to, there's so many things I want to try out and build and test, and trying to do it with a sander and cut it out of aluminum and all those things by hand is just brutal.
Yeah, that's why I'm getting a mini mill, so I can make all my own aluminum bracket.
Yeah.
That's kind of key for me. But yeah, I mean, like I said, talk to Patrick. If you don't want to talk to Patrick, that one from Ziltech is awesome with linear bearings. So it has the same type of bearings you can see. So like on my CNC right here, right?
Yeah.
Bearings going across. It doesn't have the flexible wheels. Well, what they did was on the rail that goes across right here in these two tops, they put linear bearings on those. So the accuracy is just crazy. That's what Ziltech.
That's the one thing like that. Yeah. Because when I'll be honest, Casey, I didn't even notice the bearings were different until you said something between the lead 15 and the Queen Bee. And then you said something. I was like, what is he talking about? And I went back and I was like, how did I miss that? And then I was like, what's the true accuracy difference? And I went through, and that linear bearing is, I mean, the biggest thing, as you mentioned, was they both start off very accurate, but the wear is so much more on those wheels.
They're rubber wheels running up and down a metal track. They're going to wear out. And they say they're Teflon or nylon wheels. They wear really well. I'll tell you what, with as much as you use yours, you'll be changing those about every 3 or 4 months, if not more.
That's why I was like, what I'll do is I'll end up ordering the piece, turn around, go ahead and order the upgrade kit. They'll last me long enough to get me to the turnaround point. Now obviously there's lessons learned today, but that is what it is. And I mean, the fair truth is if I continue down this route, I'm going to need I'll probably have many more CNCs in my future, but yeah, I'm just having way too much fun. Don't tell my wife that, because I make her feel like she's working me, but yeah, she doesn't know I'm having fun.
Well, let me know. I'll design one for you for the hell of it. You can just buy the parts and build it.
Well, no, that's where if I get back to Texas, I told her many, many times, I get back to Texas, me and this old man are going to hang out together for a minute. And I was like, he doesn't know it. I'm just going to show up with some beer and and now a box truck, but
a U-Haul, right? Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to show up and I'm going to be like, hey, I'm staying at the hotel down the street. We're about to have a good time. and we're about to build some stuff together. Because it's not very often I find people with a passion to create and design. Most people are like, yeah, like I meet them and they're like, they look at me a little funny. I'm just like, I'm really into it. And I'll meet somebody else like that. I'm like, yeah, we can have some fun.
Yeah, that's just, I mean, that's, be honest with you, that's what I do, right? R&D engineer. I contract out to at least 5 of the largest energy, oil and gas businesses in the world, plus General Electric, their turbine, SpaceX, a lot. That's kind of what I do. And, you know, I've been told that when they have a problem that needs a unique solution, they'll call me, put me under contract, and I come up with a way to do it. And then I hand it back to them and they figure out how to do it commercially.
Well, see, like I was actually talking to my wife about you the other day. I was like, man, I didn't realize this was something I was into until well after college. Like I went to college, not wanting to go to college. I did construction. I like building things. Then I went to college to be a pilot and ended up in the Army, go figure. And then now I'm like going back, but it's just interesting. Like all that stuff you do, like you're fully educated on it. I'm Googling and learning as I go and just tapping into the common sense side of the house. But that's usually why I give you a call and I'm like, hey, why is it like this? Like, you tell me the math, I can figure out the math. I can learn the math. I'm just good at math, but I'm not educated in it. So
it's not the math, man. It's not the math. It's reality. It's physical reality. So like I said, you see the frame on the wall, right? Yeah. I ran load calculations. I can do all of that on there. But when I physically build it and put it together, little pieces don't work. So that's why you guys heard me talking to Patrick earlier. He was like, well, when can you get me the bomb? I'll get you the bomb as soon as I'm done with my as-built. Any engineer that tells you that they don't do as-builts, I would run as fast as I can. That means they throw shit on paper and they're going to sell it to you whether it works or not. So that's what I do. I build it, I design it, I build it, figure out all the little cricks and crannies, the problems, then redesign it, come out with my as-builts, and that's the final product that I physically know, have tested, works, and it fixes the solution. So this frame here, I know when I connect it and I put the wood on it, it is going to be just as solid as my gantry CNC at half the price of what I paid for that. Right?
Yeah.
So it's like crazy. So that's like I said, I might have spent $400 on this, all the parts at retail cost, but I'm just kind of hoping to make that back whenever MakerMade starts doing it. And, you know, I get a piece of that for every sale, but I'm hoping it'll pay itself back. But that's how I do it. Design it, put it on paper, physically build it, figure out the quirks, fix the quirks, come up with design number 2, then roll from there.
Hey, real quick, can you show me your CNC real quick?
Which one?
The gantry, the actual Queen Bee.
Sorry, Don. I know you're on here for the M2 and stuff.
Okay, so yours does come with a plate on the side. I wasn't sure if that was expanded aluminum on the side. Yeah.
So what expanded aluminum? You mean the side plates?
The vertical plate.
Oh man, those are beefy, man. They
look like a half-inch thick almost.
They're more than half inch.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They're more than half inch. They're some thick, and they're heavy plates too. I can't zoom in on it, but yeah, they're thick, heavy plates.
Interesting.
And see, the thing is Queen Bee, or the one from Open Builds, they still have the rollers that run in this side track right here.
Yeah.
But it's still controlled by this linear screw. But so you have a motor here and a motor on this Y-axis over here. So you got 2 motors that are keeping both in tune side by side. But the reality is what about up and down? When this thing starts running, chips are getting on there and the wheels start rolling, and this Z-axis right here starts pushing down on it, I think you'll see that the gantry can start getting slop in it. Where right now, right now with those linear bearings, zero slop.
That's what I was looking at earlier when I was looking at mine. I was like, yeah, that's why dust collection is going to be a must until I get linear bearings.
Yeah, and then of course you can see I had to upgrade everything. You see my dust collection hose attachment. I designed and built that. And then my dust shoe, that's magnetic right there. It just drops down so I can change out bits. And then all of my other crap over here. So this is my little holder for my Z-axis, my little Z-axis centering jig. And then I built brackets for my power supply up on the wall. Yeah, it just lots of crap. It's just me tinkering. I don't stop tinkering. That's just my nature.
I like seeing people that are more anal retentive than I am.
Yeah, I start building something and that's it. It just keeps going from there. Like, so for this frame, the board that I'm going to put up there, here's this second idea that I have. And I'm hoping to do this as soon as I get my top beam, but it won't be here until just before Christmas. But I'm going to take that board and whenever I put it on there, drill holes through it and use those back threaded nuts. And I want to put these on. So I'll be able to take one of these, thread it into that hole all the way down to the board. And now I can put in any shape design to put my workpiece up there. And this is just thinner than a 3/4 inch plywood. So it's a way to hold your workpiece up there. And you can just put these into any of I'll probably have 20 or 30 of those holes all over in the board with threaded inserts. And I'll be able to just take these out of a bucket I'll have on the side, put them in there, spin them, tighten them down, and you just tighten them by hand. No big deal.
That was one of the tweaks that I knew I was definitely going to do is that table, the wood that goes on there. I don't know if you've ever seen like a Festool multifunction table. It's essentially just evenly spaced like 1 inch holes. And then you can feed stuff in through it, like even a clamp and bring it on. But then they have the ones that, they're like bench dogs almost, and they slide in the hole and then they push against the side so they won't stick up. That kind of deal. That's definitely one of my tweaks that I have planned, but we'll see.
Yeah. So for like this one here, you can see what I did was I just used standard boards, trimmed them, put in T-track all the way down it, right? And then I used my laser and I went through and I burdened grids on it.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
So then whenever I put anytime I put a workpiece or something up there, right, I can put it up there, align it with the grid, and I know it's perfectly aligned with the gantry. And then all I have to do is use my dogs to tighten down the 4 corners like you could use in the T-track. But then I don't have to worry about that. Everything's always aligned. Everything's ready to go. And then I use I just simply use my Z-axis depth gauge. I put that on the top corner, put the bit there, hit calibrate, and the whole thing, the whole system goes through and finds the edges of that Z-axis, finds the center of the hole on it, and then automatically knows exactly where 0 should be for the Z-axis.
Have you thought of making one of those ones you just showed us with the bolt in the middle? Make that oblong. Because then when you slide it down from the top, they'll cam in and hold it in place. So you don't have
I thought about taking this. And like making it oblong with a handle that came down and around like this, so you could grab and just turn and pinch the wood in.
Yeah.
I thought about doing that, but I just haven't gotten around to it yet. Then it'd be like Lauren, you never have to nail another piece of wood to your cut deck. You just put up a piece of wood, turn the cams, and walk away.
That's what I would.
I hate that. That's the one thing that I find annoying about the M2.
Yeah, but that's what I would do.
Yep. And then the nice thing is with this, it's made out of PETG. So if you hit it with your bit accidentally, it'll just tear this up. It won't tear up your router and stuff. Yeah. So you could these I'm going to see if I can sell on MakerMade as well. But then you can just get in, and I'm thinking about selling them in like 10 packs, right? You can just buy a pack of them and be done.
Yeah.
Easy peasy, man. Easy peasy.
Hey, Casey, I got something coming up, man. It's always been fun talking to you. I'll hit you up later. I'm
Yeah.
excited
All right.
to get this stuff.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys letting me just sit as a fly on the wall here. You know, I'm at work, but you know, I've got to do a lot of desktop stuff. So
No problem. You
I
guys
figured
all.
the more I listen, I'll pick up some tidbit here or there that I didn't think of,
Yep. All right. You guys have a good one. Take it easy.
All right, later.
All right. Bye.